We gotta find. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. We gotta find. That's the first clue. We gotta find. That's the first clue. That's the first clue. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. We gotta find. That's the first clue. We gotta find.
You're my hero.
That's the first clue. That's the first clue. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. We gotta find. That's the first clue. We gotta find. That's the first clue. That's the first clue. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. We gotta find. That's the first clue. We gotta find. That's the first clue. That's the first clue. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. We gotta find.
What?
That's the first clue. We gotta find. That's the first clue.
What?
That's
So-
the first clue. Now what do we do? That's the first clue.
I know I am.
Now what do we do?
You hearing me, mummer?
That's the first clue. We gotta find.
Helping me on both sides.
That's the first clue. We gotta find. That's the first clue. That's the first clue. That's the first clue. We gotta find. That's the first clue. That's the first clue.
Yo, what is going on, everybody? Thank you, Kamoji, for keeping me straight on both ends. Welcome. It's a beautiful Friday, and we are here to talk about degenerates today. Talk about some of the degenerates on the internet. We're going to do something lighthearted. Well, I say lighthearted, looking at some of the fucked up video games that I've heard about or found out about. We've done other games like Ethnic Cleansing and uh, what are some of the other ones that we've done? That one always is the one that stands out, but we do several of them from time to time. So after we go over the other degenerate Nox Taku and Otterly Noah calling him out for some of his um, takes on Africa. Oh man, oh man. But anyways, let's get me up on screen here. I decided to play Kenshi again. I'm gonna. Well, why did it do that? Damn it. Stop. You went on the wrong one. Wrong screen. Um, because I'm having a hyper focus on it, man. This playthrough is like a hyper focus. I'm building the story, and I have to keep going. I have to play more. I am going to do a little synopsis of my take on Void Wars, and that one was really good. And start again Monday with a new video. I'm probably also going to start like doing some off-screen game capture. Just that, why is it doing that one? No, we don't want that one. We don't want that one. Just so that there's more that I can like kind of post and let people see, make little shorts out of them, and post little videos to like X and other things like that, more than just me playing on stream, just to kind of get that idea. What the heck is going on here? One. Okay. There we go. There we go. That's the right screen. It kept trying to go onto my smaller screen. I have one screen that's the opposite direction. Instead of long ways, it's short ways, it's tall. I do that because it's easier to read all of your beautiful messages while I watch videos that sometimes make me cry. Next takes on Africa sounds like commentary version of Purgatory. It does. It's like somebody who shouldn't like each. This guy has probably absolutely no knowledge. In fact, most of the things I've seen him talk about, he has absolutely no knowledge in whatsoever. But here he is constantly making takes on subjects he doesn't understand. His white right wing like grifter arc, like the switch over to the MAGA, excuse me, is so crazy to me, so crazy because his supposed friends, I think are a lot more moderate. They're a lot more um like, oh, what's his face? Who's that other idiot that he has the podcast with? Did you saw that Nox Taku browser extension? It has one that adds his character to every video thumbnail and one that replaces every eye with we. What? Oh my god, really? Just really? Why? Man. So let's let me pull up Kenshi here. I'll show y'all my little guy. Oompaville, yeah, Oompaville seems pretty moderate. He doesn't like to talk about war. He doesn't really have the greatest takes, but his candy is really good. I'll say that. But he's just kind of normal, like moist critical style commentary. Only a little crazy. And then you have Opa is probably the only normal dude from the podcast. Yeah, I would agree. I would absolutely agree with that. And then God damn, what is that Indian's name? I personally think Nux is somehow dumber than Asmongold. Oh, 100%. At least in my opinion, Asmongold is smart enough to know that he's full of shit. Oh, that's right. Everybody is running for the hills. So this is my fishing village, as we talk about it. Mudahar. We love Mudahar. We love Mudahar. And he's like completely on the almost opposite side. He's more liberal, I think, than he is actually right wing. So I have a little fishing village with mods, and then my whole squad got. Oh, is he fighting? Who are you fighting? Oh no, get him to safety first. Get him to safety, and then we'll work on kicking the rest of their asses. As I said before with this Kenshi run, if y'all want me to keep playing it, I will, because I've been playing it a lot. Maybe I'll stop playing it or off stream. I am building a complete complete Hiver clan. I've got the mod to have up to 256 guys on it. I plan for it to get pretty big, though I'm going to have to do things like kidnap Hivers to get them in, because there's just not enough in the world that that I could just do it naturally. Boop boop. So Mudahar ended up as the cucked off the group in the end after trying to throw Nux under the bus. Well, what was funny about that is like he threw Nux under the bus and then he tried to like turn around almost immediately. Bro, check feed the pig. Uh-oh. Let's check it out. Hold on. Feed the pig. What is this? He's not wrong though. Oh, okay. Okay, hold on here. hold on. We're gonna pull this up real quick. Window capture. Boom. And what's going on here? Okay. Hassan is apparently giving Simon some attention. He's not wrong though, even though he's not really in any position to talk. He's seething. Anyone who gets I think I'm absolutely in a position to talk. Don't let the liberal bias or whatever whatever clips you've seen cloud your judgment. And then, sorry, mate. I think I'm good on that one. I can form my own opinions based off of what I've seen. well, you were almost in favor in him of Hassan, and then you immediately you immediately went after him. So good on you. Good on you. Yeah, I mean, I agree when it comes to clips of Hassan and all. I mean, he talks about the clips that he said, but he said absolutely out of pocket shit. Some of it I understand what he's going for, but and most people don't even understand to like be intellectual about it, but it's still insane crazy shit, right? Insane, absolutely crazy shit. All right, let's. You can't see anything at night on this map, and I love it. Y'all can't see shit. All right, there we go. Let's get to our main course, or I wouldn't even say our main course. This is Otterly Noah. Simon will be going on his show soon. What is it this Saturday that you're going? And then he's probably going to come on mine with Nazmir, and we're going to talk about Second Story and some of her takes on storytelling. No, where am I at? Properties. One day I'll actually be a professional streamer. Don't want that one, that's for sure. Yeah. Boom. Boom. One of these days, I'll know what I'm doing on here, but probably not. That was hilarious though. Simon getting recognized by Hassan a lot, slowly becoming the next lefty e-celeb. He's working on it. The appetizer. Yeah, that's the appetizer before we get to Black Souls. Damage said he didn't. He asked what Black Souls was. I just told him, from my understanding, it's a degenerate RPG, but you're gonna have to watch to find more damage. You're just gonna have to watch. It's just as cultish as the right. Oh, even more so, bud. But I'm glad you're getting attention for some of these guys. It's pretty cool going on. Otterly Noah's Black Souls is an anomaly. And so I like Otterly Noah. He seems to have his shit together, and it is least reasonable when me and you were arguing about the differences between good genes. It's degenerate enough to be off-putting, but at the same time, it has a good story worth experiencing. That's funny. Bro, I'm talking like he knew I was here. I did know you were here. I know when you're here, damaged, watching me. Let's see here. All right, pulling it up. So, first video of the day. Unraveling Nuxtaku's lies about world history and his many controversies. Hunting griftly bears. I like the sound of this one. The pig senses are tingling. That's right. I can smell a pork eater from a mile away. Let's see here. All right, so let's watch this while I try and save my squad from losing limbs and death. Yeah, Noah is very open to different perspectives. Yeah, I kind of noticed that, and it was pretty cool. It's always I think pretty cool when you see like someone that you're watching actually come in to listen to your takes, especially someone who's a small shitter like me, right? Right. I have no pull, I have no reach, but he was willing to come in and engage with it, and I like that on any case, even if you're of differing opinions than me. I'll give you respect for that. So here we go. Let's get started with the appetizer before we get to the real degenerate shit. Apparently I gotta...
Actually, colonialism is the problem of all the things. All the things that are bad happen because colonialism is a thing. You're telling me colonialism dropped their average IQ by 30 points? Percent? Yeah, I said percent is a mistake because they're...
What? Oh god, this is already going to be good. I like this.
They're 70% normal people. Maybe colonialism is the reason why they're not actually building modern empires and beautiful societies and civilizations.
Yeah, that's actually exactly why, if you look at the history of all of Europe taking over Africa.
I don't know. Maybe it's because they're dumb.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Alright, I guess today's the day I finally talk about our good buddy Nuxtaku. Oh boy. Oh wait, I'm sorry. I mean, today's the day we talk about our good buddy Nuxtaku. Oh boy. Obviously, you had to nuxify that phrase there. In the past 5 years or so, VTubing has really blown up exponentially as a form of entertainment on the internet. Technically, VTubing itself has existed since 2016 with the introduction of Kazuni AI, but it's actually only gotten even more popular over the last few years. A lot more people, more than ever in fact, have really gotten into VTubing since then, and it's become ever more popular as a form of content creation that people adopt. But just like with any form of entertainment on the
Is that Eminem Without Me instrumental on the background? I didn't notice it. I wasn't paying attention. I'm pretty much blind to any background music most of the time. I think it's my ADHD.
internet, with all the great people participating in it, there always are a few stinkers and a few very controversial figures included as well. And perhaps one of the biggest, if not the biggest, of those figures in the VTubing space is none other than Nuxtaku, the subject of today's video. For those unaware, Nuxtaku is an AniTuber that started making anime content all the way back in 2014. He initially got his start talking about various anime with his signature over-the-top, very brash and juvenile type of commentary.
In this world, there are two types of wham women that are thoughts and women that are thoughtless.
Oh,
Now,
God.
the simple way to determine the difference between the two is that if she breathes,
While this might have been seen as obnoxious by some people, it was still enough to get him over 1 million subscribers by December 2019. And it was after this that he actually became a full-on VTuber starting in 2021. He got popular enough to collab with some of the biggest creators on the internet, such as Iron Mouse and Moist Critical and Some Ordinary Gamers. But unfortunately for Nux, this is also where all his controversies began to rear their ugly heads. Oh boy. There have been a lot, and I mean a lot, of things that Nux has done over the years that have caused a lot of people to not like him, such as accusing the VTuber Taiga of being a predator on a video with Moist Critical, when he himself admitted in this video that he had not fact-checked this claim whatsoever and was just assuming it to be true right off the bat.
Yeah, I don't think
Ty-
I slightly remember that one. It's just as like Nux will just say things. He doesn't actually do any research. He doesn't actually look into, anything that's going on. He barely knows the subject when he says something about it. And then he just says off the wall, off the cuff shit, right? That's kind of his MO, and it bites him in the ass all the time. But since he's got such a large, young child audience that have been watching him do all of his lolly stuff, they don't care. They just clap.
Taiga is an indie streamer who, I don't know the whole story, but Taiga was outed to be a
Obviously, this giant lack of integrity when covering serious subjects caused a lot of people to get mad at Nux, not least of which was Taiga themselves. And this
I remember that even Rev tore into him for that. Nice. Taiga is not innocent. Yeah, I know Taiga's not innocent. They're like a degenerate from my understanding. But Nux made him look innocent, like how the predator hunters fumble by not having authorities involved. Yeah, I remember that, because I remember watching a lot of the commentary around Taiga and the shit was going on. But it's that thing, you just say off the cuff shit when you don't know about it, like them not being a pedo. And yeah, it's going to completely fuck up the narrative because you're a huge audience, right? I remember Nux and Rev having a spat. Yeah.
This is definitely something that Nux has carried as a burden of shame for a long time now, and rightfully so. But perhaps the most infamous and most egregious of all of Nux's controversies were his associations with the very notorious figure Shadman. For those who don't know, Shadman can very easily be equated to the Jeffrey Epstein of YouTube. He very infamously drew pornographic art of various underage characters and even real underage people, such as Keemstar's 8-year-old daughter. After Shadman's deplatforming, a list was made of all the people that had been known associates of him or had had art made by him. And lo and behold, guess who one of those people was? You guessed it, none other than Nuxtaku himself. Oh boy. As you can probably imagine, this
Well, it wasn't even just that, right? Like, he had talked to him several times. He was inviting him on the show for a collab. I think he had a much deeper connection to Shadman than he would like people to believe, because people started noticing when the Shadman stuff started coming back up recently that there are a lot of people that had a close connection to him. Yeah, we all remember Shadman. I wasn't active on the internet at that time, but I had heard about all of that stuff going on with it. And it still baffles me to this day that so many people were defending him under the guise of freedom of speech, freedom of expression.
This was something that caused a lot of people to start side-eyeing Nux, and rightfully so. And it was around this time that Nux decided to go in the only direction he could now that he'd been outed as a Shadman supporter, that being the anti-woke grifting route. Oh boy, our absolute favorite. And so, just like every anti-woke grifter, he decided to make 200 videos solely focused on Hassan, which while I personally don't like Hassan at all, I always find it so funny he's the one guy all these anti-woke grifters seem to focus on, like they can't think of anybody else. And he's also made plenty of videos about Iron Mouse, saying she's a woke VTuber and he doesn't like her at all.
Has he really? I didn't know that. Oh, maybe we have to go back and watch some of those videos. I'm always like on the edge of getting into the VTuber scene just to see the stuff that's going on there. Now that Well, yeah, I expect her to be a little woke, right? I think a lot of the VTubers you're going to find on that side are woke. But is there like some overarching reason to do that? So, like I said, I'm always on the edge of the VTuber scene, and some of you in my chat would like me to like dive headfirst into the VTuber scene. I even considered getting a little VTuber model, not a big one, just one the size of the one that I got now. But that's probably not happening anytime soon, especially since I just bought myself a brand new truck.
Think she's a backstabber.
Appeal to people, appease people, fit in with people, that I'm trying.
Yeah, you're a streamer. Almost everyone in this giant Twitch orgy is just doing everything they can to appeal to people. Are you kidding me? Like you gotta stop with this, man. Bro, you gotta not care what people say a little bit, all right? Become your own person. What are we doing? What are we doing? Oh my God, of course you're trying to appeal to people. Why do you think everyone in V Shoujo stabbed me in the back? Including some people on my screen right now.
Oh yeah, clearly Iron Mouse and everyone
I got myself a 2026 Toyota Tacoma SR5.
else were just backstabbing you for disassociating when they found out you were associated with Shadman, the guy who literally made art of an 8-year-old girl. Clearly that was backstabbing, right? This also resulted in Nux trying to remove thumbnails to try to cover up his association with Shadman and trying.
Yes, this is when they started to get him, like all of the thumbnails that he had done that were done by Shadman. On top of it, the videos he has done where it's like clear, like lolly, almost flat out porn. Like what's the one with the hieroglyphic, the Sphinx and all of that? It's like he's trying so hard to skirt the line of what's going on there, and then he got exposed, and it just, it started going down for him. The Akana dance, yeah, I think that's what it was. Visojo didn't even stab him in the back. This is why I can't stand Nux. He exposed the doxing situation when told not to. Well, I know there was something about I thought it was a cybersecurity thing. Like there was some kind of hacker and some guy that he was working with that was, I guess, doxing people. But yeah, he was told not to bring it on his public channel, probably because they were still investigating, and you don't want to let the criminal know you're onto them, or the person know you're onto them. And he did it anyway because he wanted the clout from saying that he was the one that helped, right?
Trying to make sure nobody actually noticed him removing these thumbnails as well. Funny enough, most of the thumbnails he changed here were either lolly characters or straight up of different underage characters that was very loosely censored. And funny enough, even if Nux tried to use the lolly argument and try to claim that lolly characters aren't actually kid characters, they're just characters that present as kids, the country that he resides in, that being the country of Canada, still constitutes that as child pornography, and that's illegal there. So even if Nux tried to use the lolly argument, he actually can't really use that to escape the allegations at all, because by definition, he was still breaking the laws of his country by making these thumbnails. But in more recent memory, Nux actually made a video just the other day about African history that was
I don't know if that's fully right. Help me out, Canadian. Let's go back and look at that law that he's reading. See, one thing I hate is
Canada still.
Oh, I think his problem is he's already the problem I have here. He's using Wikipedia for law stuff, because that law is recent and only went into place in 2025. Oh, so it doesn't apply to this situation. Gotcha. Enacted in 19 defines child pornography to visual representations, whether or not that shows. The Supreme Court decision. Well, I would need to look further into it, and I care so little about Canadian law. but yeah, if it was something that was enacted later, maybe here's the thing, if you're gonna quote law, against somebody, you need to go to the actual statue, not Wikipedia. And even then, you could be getting it wrong. Like it's 100%. That's why I always say try and stay away from calling just something illegal, because it's not necessarily illegal. It depends on how it is. It's like what they tried to do with McDizzle. At least the part of the law regarding fiction. Gotcha. Yeah, I know there's been a lot of, I think, more recent talks about the fictional side of it and what is the line there. But let's get back to listening. I'm pretty sure that it's one of those weird laws that isn't enforced. Yeah, it could be that too.
Still constitutes that as child pornography, and that's illegal there. So even if Nux tried to use the lolly argument, he actually can't really use that to escape the allegations at all, because by definition, he was still breaking the laws of his country by making these thumbnails. But in more recent memory, Nux actually made a video just the other day about African history that was brought to my attention. As someone who loves world history and has studied it for a long time and knows a lot about it, I thought this video would be pretty interesting to see what Nux would try to say here, given his political bias. And lo and behold, this might just be one of the most baffling attempts at recapping and rewriting history that I've ever seen on all of YouTube. In the entirety of the 30 minutes of this video, Nux tries to claim that he knows why Africa is poor currently, and also tries to claim he knows the reason why we shouldn't be giving money to them. And of course, he does all this while talking about what he perceives as a quote-unquote liberal agenda. Oh boy.
You see, man, listen, dude, honestly.
God, I hate those buzzwords like liberal agenda, like it actually means anything anymore. It's just everything that I disagree with is liberal. Like this was the same thing that happened on the left, where everything that disagrees with me is far right. So I don't know how anyone on the political side or in any kind of moderate belief would look at any of this and go, oh yeah, this makes sense.
This liberal agenda, it's gotta go, bro. Why are we giving them infinite money, dude?
The liberal agenda, more popularly known as the message, yeah.
This video was genuinely mind-melting, not just because of how insane it was the claims he was making here, but also just how easily debunkable it is too if you actually know history. So today, I want to take a look at Nux's video in Africa, show you exactly where he lies in this video, and also very intentionally misinterprets history, and also talk about where exactly you should look for real history analysis in general. Because I feel like I shouldn't have to say this, but you probably shouldn't be getting your recaps on history from Nux Taku of all people.
So you're a twitch thought, nasty greedy witch thought, tier 3 grabbing bitch thought, pimping out your simp thought. I'm the Chad type, Barry Bogger's mad type.
But first, have you ever wanted to be able to listen to something that's not Nux Taku's awful Twitch rap while getting work around you done? Maybe you're getting some house cleaning done for the new year, but also want to be able to listen to your podcast and music while doing so, while also making sure you're aware of everything else that's going on around you. Well, look no further than the sponsor of today's video, Raycon Essential Open Earbuds. Regular earbuds tend to block out noise entirely. You can't hear someone calling your name, a car honking, anything. These Raycon ones, however, solve that problem entirely by sitting just outside your ear canal so you can still get pristine condition sound, but also hear what's going on around you too. I love using these a lot when going on runs since I still get good audio quality, but I can still hear cars and oncoming traffic around me as well. Raycon has over 3 million customers and the quality is just as good as more expensive brands, plus they've got up to 36 hours of battery life with that included charging case. It's really good stuff, and I find myself using the Essential Open Earbuds quite a bit. And if you're not satisfied with your purchase, they've got a 30-day guarantee as well. If you'd like to try out the Essential Open line for yourself, you can use my link in the description or go to buyraycon.com/utterlynovaopen to get this great deal for the new year. You can use this to get 20% off your first purchase just in time for 2026. Thanks again to Raycon for sponsoring this video. But without further ado, let's see what Nux Taku had to say on the history of Africa.
Here on Nux Taku, we do daily lore videos. Lore includes history now. That's the rules.
He should have just stuck to, like, gaming, or not even gaming lore, like, whatever lore he wanted to do on, what did he used to do? Fucking 40K or whatever shit he didn't know about, right? Instead of being now his lore videos are on history, like he's some kind of fucking historian.
I don't make them. That was a lie. I make them.
In the last 50 years, over $1.2 trillion of aid money has been poured into Africa.
All right.
More than the entire GDP
That's
of
a lot of
countries
money,
like
man.
Spain, Australia.
People really crying about like, I can't believe that Trump is wasting money on blank when they're starving children in Africa. Motherfucker, we've given them so much money.
So even just right off the bat, Nux is actually being very disingenuous here, framing exactly what was said in this video. As the video says, over $1 trillion has been donated to Africa, but unlike what Nux tried to frame it here as, not all of that money has come from the United States. The majority of first world countries, in fact, have been giving money to Africa for quite a while now as part of various humanitarian efforts. Many countries, including a lot of European countries, Australia, and also some Asian countries as well, have been donating to Africa for a long time now. So for Nux to act like it's only the United States donating money to Africa is already framing this intentionally in a very incorrect manner. Wow, we're already off to a great start here. But then again, I guess this is to be expected from the same guy who tried to claim that Muslims were causing human trafficking in Japan. Yes, that is also somehow a real video he made.
When all of this began, just 11%
no.
of Africa lived in
Kershaw
poverty.
levels here.
But by the 1990s, after floods of money and global campaigns, that number had actually increased to 66%.
We gave them trillions and we 6x'd their poverty.
Huh? What's
You
going
see, man,
on,
listen, man,
Blake?
listen, dude. Honestly, this liberal agenda, it's gotta go, bro. Why are we giving them infinite money, dude?
Oh boy, of course Nux has to blame everything wrong with the world on a liberal agenda. I love that he just brought that up out of nowhere. But I think one of the more interesting aspects of this is that Nux doesn't really seem to understand at all where a lot of the money that's donated to Africa, especially in the northern regions, actually goes to. While Nux may not want to admit it, as he indicates actually later in this video, a lot of the money that actually goes to Africa, especially in very select regions, ends up being seized by corrupt warlords and also the ruling types. It has been like this for a long time, and while the US and other countries have tried to do their best to not make this happen when they're donating to Africa, it still does happen nonetheless. As documented in the 2016 essay Blood Aid by Gregory Zitelli, even as far back as 1982, there were already documented cases of over 50% of food aid being stolen by warlords in Somalia. And even as far back as 1985, very famously, there was a
roasting
concert
Nux
series
Taku.
held in London
A
called
new
Live
asshole
Aid,
again.
which
Let's
was
go.
created with the intent of
We
raising
love
money for the
assholes
famine
here.
crisis in Ethiopia.
Wait a minute.
And while the intentions of
That's
this
not what I meant
concert
to say.
series obviously were noble, it was discovered not long after they actually happened by Spin Magazine that, in fact, none of the aid that had been raised for the people of Ethiopia was actually going to the people that needed it at all. Inevitably, pretty much all this aid was automatically being seized by the Ethiopian government. They would often use the food and resources right away to try to bulk up their army, or in other cases, they would trade with Russia for weapons. Russia and Ethiopia have pretty famously been trade partners for a very long time now. And with the 1980s being a pretty notable time for turmoil and war in Ethiopia, obviously they wanted all the help from Russia that they could get. This marked a very crucial point in the two countries' relationship. So whether Nux wants to admit it or not, a lot of that money isn't really going to the people who actually need it in Africa whatsoever. And ultimately, it hasn't for a very long time.
The average Western European was just 5 times richer than the average African.
And here's the
Now,
thing, like that's absolutely a problem. This happens in many other places when it comes to aid. So if you want to argue that there is, a problem with where the money is going, I agree. There needs to be something to curtail or fix that. But this idea but Nux's, incredibly retarded take here is not even getting to the point of what the problem is.
now the gap has more than doubled to 13 times. Today, over
Probably has nothing to do with like culture, right? Probably.
He cares about U.S. politics because MAGA makes him a lot of money.
Do you get it, guys? Do you get how I was actually being sarcastic?
You are a sad, strange little man, and you have my pity.
Yeah, no, I think everybody knows you weren't being sarcastic here, Nux.
nearly 600 million people don't have access to
Well,
electricity.
you could like own Africa if you go in there with enough money, and not in like the slave way. I just mean like as like a real estate developer,
That's not to say this is an entire
but technically also in the slave way. Like I'm not.
How would you go into this country and make a ton of money as a real estate developer? Most of the people are so poor they can't afford housing in those countries. They're like, I've been to portions of Africa, and there's no money flowing around. A lot of the money they get is money that the government allows them to have, at least in the countries that I was in. So they don't have time for real estate. They in some place, the place I was in Djibouti, they built their homes out of by stacking rocks. So no, you're not going to make any money building real estate in Africa when there's no infrastructure for the people to be able to pull themselves out of poverty and find good working jobs.
All right, moving on.
Wow, yeah, that was real funny there, Nux. You're just as good of a comedian as Carl Mencina. I love how Nux really isn't hiding at all the real reason he actually made this video. Obviously, he doesn't actually care about discussing African history or the situation of poverty in Africa with any serious context whatsoever. The only reason he's making this video and reacting specifically to this content here is because he wants to continue to push his same right-wing talking points that he always does. Which, to be honest, I'm pretty sure he doesn't actually believe them himself at all. He's just become such a major anti-woke grifter now that he constantly feels like he has to rewrite history with an anti-woke perspective on just about every subject now. He's already done it for Japan, now he's trying it with Africa too.
But for decades, the West's answer to this has been simple. The reason they're poor is because they don't have enough money, and to fix that, we simply just need to give them more. So that's exactly what's happened. Since the 1960s, the amount of aid going into Africa has increased.
Dog, they need to figure their shit out, man. They need to figure their shit out. Like, bro, they were a shithole before we gave them trillions, and they're even more of a shithole now.
Well, gee, Nux, I wonder what happened in Africa's history to cause them to get to this point to begin with. There must have been something that very intentionally caused Africa's development to completely halt and not advance the same as the rest of the world. Gee, I wonder what that could have been. I just can't think of it. Maybe it was colonizers coming to Africa multiple times over the past several centuries and intentionally trying to keep them underdeveloped and uneducated so they could keep them under their thumb and continue to extract natural resources from them. Just like how the Spanish ended up colonizing the Canary Islands back in the 15th century and also completely genocided all the people that lived on those islands.
Just like China is doing right now, as they build railways into Africa so they can transport goods out and resources out of it without really providing anything positive for the African nation. This country has been raped by the entire world for generations.
As a result, the people that lived on those islands, known as the Guanche, had their culture completely lost to history, and now we basically know not much about them whatsoever. An entire civilization lost to history because of murder and colonization. These are the horrible facts of real history that you can't really dance around whatsoever, but for some reason Nux is trying to do so here. Which, of course, makes it very obvious he's not coming to African history in any good faith whatsoever.
It's obvious
he doesn't live in the U.S. He lives in Canada right now. There was talk of moving to the U.S. I know Mudahar was talking about moving to the U.S. to live close to what's his face, Oompaville. But as far as I know, he is still very much living in Canada.
Obviously not something that you can just give infinite money to and it fixes itself. Like, they need to figure shit out, man. Not trying to be controversial or anything. Don't want to be mean. But also, like, oh my god, dude, figure it out, bro. Also, how are they paying us back? Like, bro, why are we doing this as just as a freebie? Just as a freebie, bro. What are you giving us in return?
Are you fucking dumb?
What do you mean pay us back? The reason why they're like this is because of colonization to begin with. If anything, countries like Spain, Portugal, and the others that have colonized Africa owe Africa a lot more than Africa owes them.
When we think of aid, we imagine schools being built, roads being paved, children being vaccinated. By and large, this
dude, like the whole rewriting of history around colonialism and things like that is crazy. Yes, the left have done this thing where they've gone overboard with colonialism to the point that you as an American citizen who's been living here forever or in whatever country you were born in and raised in are just an evil colonial whatever that is still raping this country to this day is ridiculous. But the complete other side, where now they're just rewriting colonialism as a good thing, is completely batshit insane.
This is the strategy that transformed Europe and America into the powerhouses they are today.
Christian nations with biblical values.
I love how in more recent memory, Nux has been trying to do this big Christian grift and act like he's a pure and holy Christian now. When it's very easy to see right off the bat he's not a Christian at all, since A, the Bible has a lot to say about people who lie constantly, which Nux does a lot, and B, it should probably go without saying, but the Bible doesn't exactly look kindly at those who sexualize minors. Nice try there, Nux. Also, fun fact, I ended up learning about this while making this video, but Nux Taku actually rated Tactical Templar, of all people, on Kick just the other day. That's right.
Oh my god. Oh, Tactical getting a little bit of the taste with his retarded takes. I didn't expect the Tactical Templar jump scare there.
Nux Taku is so much of a lolcow at this point that he's now rating other lolcows like Tactical Templar of all people, who, funny enough, is also another fake Christian and also another lolly enthusiast that I've debunked here on the channel before. He's definitely a very funny person, and especially when he goons to lolly VTubers on Twitch without really trying to hide it at all from his audience like he did in this clip here.
Listen, bro.
Oh, gosh.
Usually
What kind of animal do you think I am? Don't hurt her. What?
For playing the original.
I'm not. I would not be me. She doesn't stop talking.
Deploy the Tactical Templar. You have no idea who Tactical Templar is, Nasmir? Oh man, it's a beautiful, beautiful anti-woker to look into. This guy calls everybody who he doesn't believe in him a demon. Yeah, God's strongest crusader. He tries to act like he's some kind of like moral Christian, but all he really does is call everyone evil. And he read his own kiwi farms on stream. He's so pathetic. The guy is, man, a dream. He really is a dream.
I remember when Guitar Hero came out. That was awesome. But
he also likes to goon on stream, apparently.
Thank you for gifting 5 subs to the community.
He didn't even try to hide the moaning at all there. I also find it very funny that the girl he was talking to there only had 12 viewers, but didn't want to acknowledge Templar when he first came into the room there, since I am pretty sure she knew what he was about and only waited till after he gifted subs to acknowledge him. Also, fun fact, Templar is very obsessed with me for some reason, which I also find very funny.
This content creator is named Otterly Noah. They are a furry and they are a So ladies and gentlemen, as a content creator, there are many things that you have to get used to and comfortable with. Like the reality that if you put an opinion on the internet, there are going to be people that don't like it for one reason or another. And those people are well within their right to make a video criticizing your video. That is the marketplace of ideas. And I'm all for that and I completely support that. However, one thing that I don't think I will ever get used to is the sort of type of people that you will encounter. This is a YouTube channel called Otterly Noah. This is the avatar. This person uses blue sky. The red flags, they are already a building up. Brothers, welcome to the channel. We're gonna look at a bunch of furries that took exception to a bit of content that I made.
Hear it now.
This guy, Otterly Noah, is a furry. Either way, the video is still going back up and the sentiment has not changed. However, we have the perpetual lying from these people on the left. Otterly Noah, who is the furry in question, this gay lisping decided that they were going to go out and try to make some statement about, oh yes, I can see why it got deleted. It could be 100,000, a million Otterly Noahs
after hearing
making videos saying that no, these women are beautiful, there's nothing to see here. And the reality is that it wouldn't matter because no amount of propaganda in the world is going to compensate for what you're seeing on your screen. Is a video from a content creator named Otterly Noah.
You are a sad, strange little man, and you have my pity. Farewell.
But in Africa, it doesn't seem to work. The obvious answer...
Warlord shithole with Islamism and bullshit. You probably couldn't hear because I was coughing, but...
Islam? Yes, there is Islam in Africa. There's also a huge amount of Christianity as well.
I actually was talking about how our nation is better than their nation because our culture is better than their culture. I just wanted to explain that in case you couldn't understand through the cough.
Answer that many people turn to is colonialism. Europe wrecked the continent, leaving economic systems
Oh,
so
get out
bad
of here!
that the rise of
Bro, I'm so tired of this. Like, actually, colonialism is the problem of all the things. All the things that are bad happen because colonialism is a thing.
Colonialism is historically been proven that is the reason that Africa is so fucked up to this point. It is well documented and well known that this, if anything, Africa is like the perfect example of colonialism being bad, right? We don't do that anymore. Even like if we find a tribe out in the middle of some fucking island somewhere, we stay away from it.
All right, baby. All right. Estimates of average IQ across Africa vary significantly due to methodological debates, blah, blah, blah. All right. So, all right.
Is that
Okay,
an
all right.
AI?
So, estimate around 68 to 70%. 68 to 70 average IQ. You're telling me colonialism dropped their average IQ by 30 points? Percent. Yeah, I said percent is a mistake because they're 70% normal.
Yeah, you realize that like IQ isn't like a measure of it's not like a full measure of just how intelligent you are. It can be used in that way, and IQ changes. Like everyone thinks it's a set number. It's not. It changes over a variety of factors. But yeah, they're going to have problems with it because they have next to no education system built up in there. They have no money to build an education system. They're ruled by dictators and warlords who have no education system. See, there's this thing that happened in history where all of the countries decided to pull out of Africa, and when they did, they made sure that it was as fucked up as possible so that there were huge power vacuums left with no seat of government established within it. And that caused unrest across the nation as warlords started battling for control and killing each other politically.
Normal people.
Wow, alright, Nux really isn't trying to hide the racism here at all, calling Africans 70% of normal people. Jesus Christ, he's just as on the nose as Synthetic Man of all people. But also, I love how he felt so confident bringing up Grok of all things to figure out what the average IQ in Africa is when, funny enough, he can't even spell Africa right. This man literally spells Africa with a K, not even a C. Hey, Nux, maybe instead of investigating Africans' IQs, you should be investigating your own, given the fact you couldn't even spell a 6-letter word right. The irony is genuinely hilarious here.
Grok
Rip to
the
any of
essayer.
Nux's literacy skills whatsoever.
Bro, you're not gonna explain colonialism, all right? Maybe colonialism is the reason why they're not actually building modern empires and beautiful societies and civilizations. I don't know. Maybe it's because they're dumb.
First off, yes, colonialism is a big reason why Africa hasn't been able to advance alongside other countries whatsoever. The continent does have a storied history of colonists who go into the country to try to extract natural resources, while intentionally keeping its people underdeveloped so it can continue to take advantage of them. Like I said before, Spain and Portugal were two early players in this.
There's also this idea when it comes to like even like current Africa and stuff like that, that the nations that are there aren't being allowed to do things like create electrical power or coal power or things like that, because that's considered dirty power and bad for the environment. So they're not being given the chance to go through the same stages that the rest of the world went through in learning and building and growing up. And they're not being sped up in their knowledge either, because no one wants to put the actual effort into it. They just want to throw money at the country and say, hey, we did something.
But even countries like Britain, France, and Germany all did this as well. Heck, even by 1870, about 1/10 of the continent was controlled by Europe. They had a pretty big say in what would go on in Africa for a very, very long time in the continent's history. And in many ways, they oftentimes still do. King Leopold II of Belgium ended up being one of the most notorious rulers in all of Africa's history. His treatment of the Congo Free State was so barbaric and cruel in order to extract natural resources from its people that even other European colonies ended up forcibly taking him out of power in that state because of that. This happened from 1904 to 1908 for clarity, right before the First World War began. Maybe if Nux actually looked into the history of colonization in Africa, he would realize this, but unfortunately, it's very clear he doesn't want to do that.
Maybe it's because they're dumb. I don't mean this in like a bad way, and I'm not even saying this in like a bad way, all right?
I have been using Grok to brainstorm fan fiction and have conversations with it about the state of the world. Yeah, you got to be careful with that though. Grok and all of these AI, generative AI, are designed to tell you what you want to know, or at least if you prompt it in a way that you're looking for a certain answer, it'll realize that and it'll flat out make stuff up. Like I think for fan fiction, I could see that for brainstorming. I remember seeing I've probably said it before, I repeat all my stories, y'all can get the fuck over it. Uh, a writer, I was looking at a program called Obsidian for writing. I was world building for what I was thinking of doing some stories for, and it's probably just going to turn into a D&D campaign actually. But the guy was talking about like Grok integration, and the way he used it was to help brainstorm, not to write it into his book. Grok deciding which extreme political personalities based on the user. Yeah, and then it goes full on into that. Oh man, Grok is something special. Grok is like the poster child of what's wrong with AI and why we should be cautious.
Right?
Ironic he continues to call everybody else dumb when really he just keeps proving over and over that he's the only dumb one here.
Different cultures are different. Different people are different. Like, I don't know why we're like doing this, man. Like, I'm not trying to be controversial or anything, but you can't just blame colonialism.
You can, however, when there's a very accurate documented history of colonialism negatively affecting African people. This is something that any historian worth their salt, and one without any particular political bias, will tell you did negatively affect Africa and its future going forward. Colonization did have a negative impact on the continent, and that's not really something we can erase at all.
Kamoji, the clear solution is to feed Grok more Nick Fuentes. That might like... it might reverse the system and make it good. Yeah, we all bleed the same nuts. Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. Like you talk about, I remember reading about Haitian. Like there was things going on with Haitian and the drug lords and stuff like that. So I read into Haitian history. I also did it because one of the races that I was going to put in the game, and one of the magics that I was going to put in my story was more based off of voodoo, or the more traditional voodoo that came out of Haitian and things like that. And they have an interesting history. The French took them over and basically squeezed them for all their resources. Finally, they rose up against the French and kicked them out. The French came back with a fleet and blockaded them and basically said, you're going to pay us this much money to be free. And it's money that Hades still owes France to this day. It caused them to cut down all of their trees and everything else just to produce enough to keep paying this, to the point of that's why the country is so poor. All of the income that could be going into infrastructure goes to France. Well, I may be wrong on it's still doing it to this day, but they were doing it for a very long time, having to pay all of this money back, generational amounts of debt. So, and you can see the contrast between Hades and the Dominican Republic, because the opposite side is still green. They were given a chance to grow. They were given a chance to use their resources to make their country better. So there's actually a line where you can see the trees stop for the border of the Dominican, and I think it's the Dominican Republic. I might be completely wrong on that, but and where Hades begins, where they are constantly giving their resources to other people because of the colonialism that happened in their country.
Act like didn't happen.
For a time, foreign aid was seen as a kind of magic bullet, a surefire way to lift the continent of Africa out of extreme poverty. And to be fair, by the 1960s, there was a good reason to think this. The one major instant where it had been tried, it worked remarkably well. After World War II, Europe was left decimated, and all of this came with a massive geopolitical risk. Across Western Europe, communist parties were quickly gaining popularity, and there was a real risk that without a strong economy, Western Europe could turn to communism, or worse, be invaded by the Soviet Union. For the
I love how Nux feels like he has to add something to every single thing this guy is saying, even when he's literally just talking about communism and the Soviet Union and why it's bad. And of course, instead of actually treating the subject with any kind of dignity whatsoever, Nux just resorts to saying huge L and that was bad. Come on, dude, you can try a little better than this. But to be fair, knowing Nux, he probably can't, actually.
This would have been a disaster. So in 1947, the government announced one of the most ambitious economic programs in human history, the Marshall Plan. Between 1948 and 1952, the US pumped over $13 billion into Europe, roughly $160 billion in today's money. The idea was that by providing Europe with large amounts of cash,
This is the funniest thing in the world. It's like, if it works in Europe, why wouldn't it work in Africa? Because Europe is a civilization that's built on pretty much the same values as the United States, so the money that goes in would go to, for the most part.
Yes, your values is what makes it happen. Values are usually built over time and constantly change. The values of even back in like the 40s, the 20s, and all that has changed in America. Shit, even over the last couple of years. It's not the values, it's what is available, right? Again, Europe has access to all of its resources. They can start doing trade. So a massive amount of money to influx to keep them going and get it started would definitely work.
Similar projects as the United States.
Oh boy, I love how Nux continues to act like religious Christian values are the reason why Europe was able to succeed when given foreign aid for the US and why Africa was not able to. First off, as stated before, it's not just the US giving money to Africa, it's a lot of first world countries from all over the world. But also, interestingly enough, when we just look at the ways that the Marshall Plan ended up giving aid to Europe and the way that different humanitarian efforts have tried to give aid to Africa, these are also two fundamentally very different kind of aid efforts that can't really be compared at all. After the events of World War II, many different European countries were left pretty war-ravaged. As a result of this, the United States developed the Marshall Plan as a way to provide financial aid to each of these countries, especially the ones that had been allied with them during the war. As a result, the UK got the highest amount of these contributions, with France getting the second highest amount, and what was then called West Germany receiving the third highest. However, the thing is, this aid was meant to help friendly nations get back on their feet after the biggest war in human history. Obviously, that fundamentally is very different from trying to prevent famine in a country that has been suffering from famine for a long time, such as Africa. But funny enough, what Nux doesn't seem to realize here is that the Marshall Plan actually wasn't as effective on helping European growth as he might think. The Marshall Plan only accounted for about 3% of the national incomes for all the countries it was received by from 1948 to 1951, which in short actually means the Marshall Plan only aided an about a 0.5% increase for each of these countries' GDP. By 1948, the time the plan was actually enacted, bottlenecks were scarce, and European markets were pretty good at alleviating themselves and bouncing back. That, of course, cannot be said for Africa, which has always been critically underdeveloped, and intentionally so by the colonizers who've occupied it. So really, no matter how Nux tries to slice it, trying to compare the way Europe was given financial aid to the way Africa was makes no sense whatsoever.
They had the infrastructure to succeed. Unlike, I don't know, shitholes in Africa. And again, I want nothing but love and peace and success for the African people.
Well, you could have fooled me when you called them.
If you got to say something, and I want nothing but love and peace and all of this for the African people, you're just trying to, you're realizing you're saying something unhinged and crazy and probably not very Christian-like. Whoa, where are you going? Yeah, you don't need jobs. Get back over here and watch my stuff. But yeah, you're obviously saying something that you realize is unhinged, so you can come back later and say, well, I said I wish love and all of that for the people. It's okay that I completely misunderstood their thing and called them dumb animals.
Dumb and 70% of a normal person. I love how Nux is trying to backtrack here and act like he actually cares for the African people when, really, it's very clear he actually doesn't, and he's not doing a very good job of hiding that.
In Marvel, all right, the wokest franchise of all time, all right, in Marvel, in Wakanda, all right? They have like the Wakanda area with like the epic vibranium, which is the ultimate hacks mineral that can do fucking everything. They were still duking it out in fistfights. They were like beating the shit.
He's taking all of his restraint to not say a slur accidentally, right?
Shit out of each other to become rulers. They were still walking around like half naked, like in Wakanda, technologically advanced Africa in Marvel. Okay, all right. The best they could do was Wakanda.
I'm sorry, what? So now you're comparing the very real country of Africa to the fictional country of Wakanda. This is so stupid. For some reason, Nux thinks he's really smart by comparing the fictional country of Wakanda from Marvel to the very real continent.
This is the kind of guy that, like, Nux is the kind of guy that thinks he knows how guns work because he watched a movie, but he's probably never held a gun in his fucking life.
Of Africa. This is pretty funny that he thinks is
And one of his closest friends was Oompaville.
something that's making him look smart, but
Yeah, he
also
definitely
kind of
got
sad
bullied.
that he actually thinks that as well. That's like acting like comparing the fictional country of Genovia from the Princess Diaries to the real country of England is in any way a fair comparison. Or acting like it's a fair comparison to compare Agrabah from Aladdin to Iraq. Like, what is even the logic here?
In Africa was less than $150.
Dude, are we really gonna make believe this was all just because of colonialism? Like, yeah, colonialism was obviously a thing. I'm not denying it. I'm not saying that it wasn't atrocious for some people.
Yeah, some people, as in most of the continent that was under the oppression of warlords and also the colonists as well.
Noah
It
beat
wasn't
me
just
to
some
it.
people in Africa. It was, in fact, a lot of people that were impacted negatively by colonialism. Like I said before, any historian worth their salt will tell you this straight up. This is just a fact of history that can't be erased or changed what's
I can tell Damage Sexter knows his fucking guns. If Nux was a gun, he would be a high point.
whatsoever.
A year, and literacy rates were under 30%, with life expectancy hovering around 45
Bro, you're
years.
gonna tell me that literacy rate being 30% is because of colonialism?
It absolutely does, because fun fact, Nux, a lot of the colonists that ended up taking over various parts of Africa specifically made sure there were no education centers and no books or anything of that nature given to any of the African people. They didn't want these people in a position of being able to learn things and thus unable to be controlled or taken advantage of anymore. If this had happened, this would have been very bad for their colonists in their taking advantage of these people and extracting natural resources from them. That's why they specifically made sure these people couldn't actually learn anything so they could be kept under their thumb.
In the 1990s, that number had increased 40 times to almost 20 billion. Africa quickly became the most aid-dependent region on Earth.
Yep.
And by the 90s, aid money made up over 60% of government budgets in countries like Uganda, Mali, and Burkina Faso.
The good news is they're sending all their people from there to us now because their places were not fixed by this fantastic project.
But despite this massive
In
injection,
fact, we have a Uganda mayor of New York City right now. Not even exaggerating. That's where we're at.
Wow, okay. Once again, Nux is showing his personal bias here, acting like a Ugandan mayor of New York is a bad thing. And also acting like the people in these African countries are quote-unquote being sent to the US. As though it's some personal burden on him and the United States as a whole, even though obviously Nux only speaks for himself. Right, clearly you aren't racist, Nux.
this wasn't just a government strategy anymore. It had become a public movement. Campaigns like Comic Relief in the UK, Live Aid, and
I don't know that
Band-Aids.
I would say racist, because I don't believe he believes in any of the things that he says. Completely ignorant of everything around him and just spouting off whatever rhetoric he thinks will make people clap. Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. But I always hate calling these people racists. Oh, that might help. Maybe it'll sound better if you can actually... I got to get a new little thing for this. Calling people racist, especially when they're just ignorant and trying to get a rise out of people. Some tourists are good, fairly good, but a lot of them had to be recalled for accidental discharge. Fun fact: the SIG that the Army picked up, the new pistol, had to be returned on a regular basis, or had to be returned because it was firing when people dropped it. In fact, one of my buddies was overseas doing his tour in I won't even say where. He was doing his tour, and he's like a weapons master. In our unit, he was with another unit, and he found an entire lot of these SIGs that were bad and would go off without thing. He actually got an award for it, even though they always downgrade it from him saving the army from having fucking dangerous pistols. When your gun keeps being compared to a Samsung phone because it fires with shit, it's probably a problem. Yes, but I'll still put it on like a higher tier than like a high point.
Feed the World turned Africa into a moral crusade.
Yeah.
Ordinary
True.
citizens were donating
True. This became like the giant grift of the time. You know, like just give infinite money to Africa.
Wait, what? How is this a grift, Nux? A grift is often defined, as I've talked about many times here on this channel, as someone intentionally trying to sell someone else on an idea that isn't true. This is usually done for personal gain or profit. But the thing is, the people that were raising money for Africa during the Live Aid and comic relief campaigns weren't seeing any of that money for themselves. It was all being dumped on resources that were getting shipped to Africa. So if A, there's not a false idea here, we all know that Africa is in poverty, so that's not a false ideology, and B, the money actually was being spent on resources for the African people and not...
Have you ever watched that Cursed Guns with the funny cowboy voiceovers? No, I haven't. You should send one of those. I might check it out. That might be funny to watch.
being pocketed by anybody. How exactly is this a grift here? There is literally nothing in it personal gain-wise for any of these people. It seems like, if anything, Nux is projecting, since I think in a lot of ways he knows he himself is a grifter. He does fit the definition to a T, since he always echoes the same anti-woke talking points, even though it's very clear he knows none of this stuff is actually...
I would say I could definitely put Nux in that grifter category, because his complete changeover to MAGA was just absolutely unnatural. It just didn't seem correct at all.
Real, but he just says it over and over because he knows there's a dedicated audience for it and for his own personal monetary gain. It's the only thing he can really do now to stay relevant after all of his personal controversies. So in short, the people behind Love Aid and Comic Relief aren't grifters, but Nux himself very clearly is.
Speaking of Feed the Pig, if you've never been here before, at the very least, give the stream a like. Helps me out as I try and grow my little channel where we watch commentary videos and anything else that catches my interest. What Kamoji is referring to is in my Discord. I have a little chat called Feed the Pig. It's where you can send me anything you think I might be interested in watching. Any subject that we can talk about. So definitely go in there if you have some ideas or some videos you think I'd be interested in. And of course, if you're feeling super generous, give me a subscribe. I'm working on my next goal up to 200, so we can be on the road to 500. I hate how he always acts like he has nuclear takes when he has the vanilla basics. Yeah, I agree.
Nux may not want to admit it, but he's a giant griffly bear.
Now, I do have a really hot take.
Grizzly bear.
In Niger and Chad and Ethiopia and places like that, the age of marriage for girls is under 15, okay? Like, colonialism did that? Really? Like, we don't need to play this game forever.
Yes, in fact, Nux, that was caused by colonialism. What Nux doesn't really seem to realize here is that there is a very long and very documented history of white colonists intentionally marrying underage girls or taking them for their own when inhabiting Africa. In the early 1900s in Somalia, for instance, which at the time was mostly occupied by Italian colonists, this was a very common practice, with many of the Italian colonists there intentionally taking underage girls for concubines or in arranged marriages. Arranged marriages did exist in pre-modern African culture as well, but Nux is very clearly trying to act like colonization never had anything to do with it either, when very clearly it did. The written essay Speaking Out, written by Rian Kisei, who is a cultural and social historian of Africa, talks about other examples of this happening in Africa as well, such as how in 1936 in Tanzania, a girl ended up stabbing a man to death after he tried to take her by force against her will to be married to his cousin. The concept of arranged marriages, which has been perpetuated by colonists, not actually halted by it, has caused a lot of harm for Africa for a long time. This is something that Nux very clearly is too ignorant to actually realize and doesn't actually care. He just wants a quick buck here for spreading very dangerous lies about African history, and it's very clear he doesn't care at all.
All of that raises the pretty obvious question. Why did aid manage to kickstart the European economy, but totally fail to do the same in
I love how simple my answer was and how completely correct it is.
Africa? Like always, a range of ideas have been proposed, from the continent's geography to its colonial history.
Geography and colonial history, bro?
Yes, people don't realize that Africa is the largest continent. It is so big. It is huge. And it's not easy to terrain to cross over. It's not like the US where we can run across a bunch of flat land and easily done materials. It is rocky. I mean, it's all sorts of different biomes, obviously, but there's mountain ranges that are blocking things. It takes so long to get from one part. Asia is bigger, so I do hold that. But you can take I remember seeing that like it is way bigger than what is projected on our maps. I don't remember the exact size, but it is a huge country that it's not easy to transfer goods back and forth. It's even if they had infrastructure for it.
What does that even mean?
Well, Nux, when we're talking about the geography of Africa, we mean the layout of the continent and all of its environments. When we're talking about colonial history, we're talking about the history of people settling in the country that aren't initially from it. I find it really funny that Nux doesn't even know what these two very simple terms actually mean. But given the fact this is the same guy who couldn't even spell Africa correctly, I'd say the bar's pretty much in hell here.
That's a low jab. I have dyslexia. I can do that too. I can't go after him for his spelling, seeing as Damage Sector is constantly in my DMs correcting my spelling and grammar. To be fair, Eric, Africa has a lot of very unusable land. Yeah, absolutely. Like when I was in Djibouti, it is a wasteland of rocks. They grow nothing there. Their like main source of most things are brought into the country, from my understanding when we were there and we were taught about it, and they have sheep and goats. But that's it. Like the first time I saw a camel in Africa, and I've been to other Middle Eastern countries, but when I saw a camel in Africa, it was starving to death, chewing on a tree that had thorns on it, no leaves, just to get some sustenance. The boba tree, is that from Africa? Definitely not from Djibouti area. The way a lot of Djiboutians made money, I've probably seen it before. Baobab tree. Oh, I never saw that in the Africa in Djibouti. They didn't have those in Djibouti, or at least none that I saw. For anyone else who wants to see it, we'll pop it in here real quick. Most of the trees were very small, no leaves. There wasn't a lot of water. They had what we call wadis, which are like areas that have eroded away because of water, and you would get flash floods there when it rained further to the north. But even then, that water was dirty and nasty and not very great water, but it was used.
You're too south to actually make money yourself. No, you're not. What does that even mean? Colonial history? Bro, you were given trillions of dollars. All right, America gave Africa over $2.6 trillion.
No, once again, that wasn't America. That was all first world countries that were donating to Africa collectively. Holy crap, Nux is so hung up on trying to push this narrative of America being the only one to ever donate to Africa that he keeps saying the same things over and over. It's honestly kind of insane.
And it happens with all of these people. It's like, it's why I'm starting to like clear my feed of some of these fucking people, because I just can't do politics. I'm not going to do politics. That's not what I want for my hobby that is doing gaming. And it's because none of these guys have any simple understanding of politics, not even like the bare basics of politics. They just say stuff and repeat stuff that they hear from whatever, insert favorite politician, or not even that most of the time, insert favorite right-wing YouTuber.
All right? Colonial history. This is like saying, well, my grandfather was a slave, so therefore I'm not allowed to get a job.
Wait, what?
You ever run into anybody who's talking a lot of shit about politics and they're just parroting the same arguments that they always parrot? You just throw them a little parrot emoji out there and keep on going on your day.
What kind of analogy is that? So let's track your analogy here, Nux. You're trying to compare African people being suppressed by colonists and not having any opportunities given to them whatsoever to an American citizen who's presented with plenty of opportunity saying he doesn't want to get a job. What even is this? You're comparing someone that
There are literally no jobs. So I was just about to say this. One way that Djiboutians make money in Djibouti, Africa, is they break rocks into squares and then sell those to the government. That's how they get money. Everything else is brought in and given to them at the whims of the government.
has no opportunities to someone that does have opportunity. Not only is this incredibly racist because he's basically trying to claim that all black people in America don't try and get jobs at all, but also it doesn't make any sense at all to compare someone that has an opportunity to get a job to someone that has no opportunity presented to them whatsoever. Nux is painfully ignorant of reality here, and it's honestly pretty wild.
But in the last few years, one school of thought has gained particular attention amongst development experts. Their idea is simple. It can all be explained by something economists refer to as institutions. These are the frameworks that govern societies, things like the rule of law, property rights, and democracy. And they might be the single most important factor when it comes to explaining why aid might be making things in Africa worse.
Fair, true.
When the Marshall Plan began in Western Europe...
You see how just, okay, yeah, fair, true. No comment on any of that whatsoever. Just, so far, the biggest thing he can say is they're dumb.
Europe had the infrastructure of functioning states. Ministries, legal systems, and public institutions, though damaged, had existed for decades. Most African states had only recently gained independence, and governments were either newly formed or inherited from colonial administrations. But in both cases, the institutions were generally designed for one purpose: to extract wealth. Unlike most Western democracies, states function...
Back to warlords! The colonialism leaves, they get their independence, and it immediately goes back to give all money to the chief. Isn't that amazing, bro? It literally just reverted back to the cultural roots.
Wow, okay, what Nux said here is wrong for a number of reasons, but let's start with the idea he presented here of colonists leaving and then warlords going back to getting money from all the people again. The way he phrased it, he acted like people that were under the colonists were much better off than they are under the warlord. The thing is though, they basically get the same treatment either way. The reason why the colonists came to Africa in the first place...
he's literally a copy-paste of Asmongold.
Was because, hear me out, to extract wealth and resources from all the African people. This is why they set up colonies there in the first place. So unfortunately, this is something these people have known as a way of life for a long time, and they haven't really questioned it or been able to know any other form of government. Because, of course, the colonists didn't want that and didn't want them to learn and develop further as a society. They feared them learning about other forms of government, and figuring out what the colonists was doing to them was intentionally taking advantage of them and being very brutal to them in the process. So of course, when the European colonists themselves weren't exactly in charge of those colonies anymore and warlords were, oftentimes warlords that were intentionally put in place by the colonists, naturally the people under their thumb don't really think any differently of this kind of barbaric ruling, since unfortunately it's been normalized there, intentionally so by colonists, and so this allows the warlords to continue taking advantage of these people in the same way the colonists were. So once again, Nux is very provably wrong in saying this.
Indexes tracking the quality of government institutions have consistently found African countries near the bottom of the list. In 2025, African nations made nearly half of the bottom 30 countries on the Polity Democracy ranking. It's not hard to imagine why pouring hundreds of billions of dollars into these states goes wrong. Money that was meant to fund roads, schools, hospitals, electrification often goes straight to the hands of the ruling elites. Presidents who fly private jets to international conferences, or government ministers spotted wearing $60,000 Rolex watches during anti-poverty meetings. Estimates suggest that the continent loses around 30...
This is exactly like the Somalian scammers in America that are all driving like Porsches. But you're racist if you talk about that.
Now, you're only racist if you talk about it the way you have been throughout the entirety of this video, Nux. You'll constantly dismiss colonialism as being a major factor to Africa's current economical state, when in so many ways, it very clearly is the root cause of it, and that's very provable too, like I've just stated throughout the entirety of this video. And you don't even have to take just my word for it, plenty of historians or people that just actually know history have talked about this before. It is a very real thing that has had a very real and very drastic impact on the continent of Africa overall. But given the fact—
What's crazy is this is none of this history is like, it's not like a new thing. This isn't something that we're coming up with today. People aren't suddenly saying colonialism has been bad for Africa. This is something that has been taught for so long. This is not going to end well. I can see already. We're still doing pretty damn good though. Green might need to run. Green, get out of there. It's just like, this is not a surprise.
that by his own admission, Nux is actually an Israeli colonizer squatting on the former home of a Palestinian family who ended up getting displaced by his brother, who is an IDF soldier. I think it's pretty clear why Nux wants to deny colonialism having any impact on anything. Gee, color me surprised.
Take Malawi, for example. At various points in the 2000s and early 2010s, foreign aid made up more than 40% of the national budget, but huge amounts of money was being stolen by government officials, paying for things like luxury cars, private homes, or even international shopping trips. You might expect a scandal to spark mass outrage, and after all, the government was siphoning off millions that were meant to serve the public, but that simply never happened, because there was basically no political fallout. As the government's funding came from foreign sources, the people most affected by the mismanagement of public funds, the Malawian citizens, had very little power to demand systemic change. This isn't unique to Malawi. The same dynamic has been occurring across the continent for decades, and it in part explains why the country still has such high levels of corruption. Of course, some level of corruption exists in basically every country, especially during their early development stages. But even under these circumstances, a country can usually still achieve economic development. Small businesses, farmers, and entrepreneurs can drive progress from the ground up, creating jobs and expanding access to goods and services without relying heavily on the state.
I love how this guy is explaining pretty much everything very clearly here, but for some reason Nux still isn't catching on at all. Like what was just stated here, Africa's current state of corruption can be very easily equated to a country or continent that's still in early development. Because, as stated before, in many ways Africa was really never allowed to develop as a country or continent. And once again, this should be obvious by now, but the reason why they weren't allowed to develop was because of the colonizer. But of course, Nux doesn't really want to admit that, so he kind of just sits in the background there and mutters true to himself over and over without actually saying anything at all. It's genuinely really funny to see him not really have anything to say to this at all, since he knows what the guy is saying here is totally correct, and it goes exactly against the claims Nux himself made before.
Even the World Bank, one of the biggest aid organizations—
not trying to be controversial here or anything, but it's almost like, you know, if the kid doesn't figure shit out themselves, they're gonna be incapable to do shit for life.
No, the kid in this case was never given a chance.
That's not even close to parenting. You don't just let the kid learn themselves. You teach the kid, then you give them a leash to hang themselves with, and you know, eventually start to let go and let them try on their own things and know they're going to be a different person. Like this, you just put the kid out there and say, all right, bud, time to get a job.
Chance to walk or really do much of anything at all. People from Portugal, Spain, and Belgium and many other countries made sure of that. And the warlords, many of which were actually put in place by European colonists, continued to make sure of that.
Instead of developing competitive industries and shipping products around the world, aid-dependent countries end up relying on foreign assistance to survive, while their domestic economies remain uncompetitive and underdeveloped.
We are literally teaching, dude, I'm like, these analogies are just gonna sound so racist every time. If you take Hassan Piker's dog, Kaya, alright, who's shocked to stay in place constantly, and fed all the food that Kaya would ever need, and you put Kaya into the wilderness, Kaya would not survive. Kaya would not be able to hunt for her own survival, alright? I'm just saying, bro.
That was an incredibly dumb analogy, and I love how Nux had to find some way to shoehorn
How could I
Hassan
make
into a
this
video
about
of him
Hassan?
reacting to a video about African history of all things. Like, I swear to God, all these guys have such insane Hassan brain damage that it's all they can think about. Like, most people on the left don't even talk about Hassan as much as they do. It's definitely very funny, but also kind of sad. And I love how he acts like he hasn't been trying at all to be racist throughout this video, talking about Africans, calling them dumb, calling them 70% of a normal human, and funny enough, he's also proudly admitted to being racist in a separate video too.
Tyler Oliveira just went to Tokyo, and apparently he was attacked by Nigerian scammers. That's what my chat told me. I don't know what's going on. I am pretty certain, though, that it's not the Japanese locals that are going to attack him. I am fairly certain.
Hassan
yes, you can say it's coming from a racist
syndrome.
place, and you would
It is
kind of be
real.
correct. I would argue.
Hassan bad, Hassan bad, Hassan bad. Now, can I get my money, please? Like, I hate how he keeps going, I can talk about this without sounding racist. Like, he can't talk about a place's issues without bringing up race. Yeah, you could completely, like, you could take out all of the race having to deal with it and still talk about the cultural, social, and economic reasons of why Africa is so fucked up. Plus 2,000 grift bucks worth of super chats. Anti-woke social score up. That's what I'm going for. We're turning a new leaf. We're turning around. We're going for the Nux raid.
Argue comes from a logical place.
Looks like Nux hasn't done a very good job of hiding his motivations here whatsoever.
I'm just saying. We are not giving these people the capability to develop their own economies because their entire economy is reliant on us.
Oh my god, he keeps going around in circles here. I've already said so many times now, but they're relying on us because of A, the colonizers, and how they consistently and purposely kept everything underdeveloped, and also the warlords that currently rule the country as well. That's just the reality of history, something that Nux very clearly isn't knowledgeable on, or more than likely is just trying to lie about. Although, to be honest, knowing him, either option could be totally true.
Of course,
I would say
that's
he
not to
has
say there's
no
no good that
idea
aid
what's
can do.
going on.
In
Like,
theory, it
that's my
has the
guess.
potential to fill crucial gaps in development, things like building roads, schools, and power grids, all facilitating domestic economic expansion. But that brings us to the final and potentially most serious issue with foreign aid. It almost never effectively delivers. A 2012 report by the Center for Global Development.
Also important to note, it largely doesn't even get to the people. Like, when we saw the Elon Musk Doge thing showing up exactly what was going on with all the U.S. aid.
Oh God, yeah, all the U.S. aid. It was no one denied the U.S. aid. People weren't hiding U.S. aid from the American people. What they, you know why they focused on that? Because they couldn't prove any fraud. Because they were having to lie about the numbers, because they were never going to reach that billion or however many $1 billion that they said they were going to save on it. In fact, they had to fluff the numbers up by saying that contracts that had been dead for like 15 years, they stopped so that they could add it to their list. It wasn't at all what is it called? Transparent. All it was I went and looked at the page. All it was like sheets on, found waste with this unit. Well, what was the waste? It doesn't say anything about that.
Right? A lot of it gets to Democrat-funded, organizations. Then a lot of it just goes to the dictator. And then we get to how the fact that it doesn't even show up. Understand why. It's helpful to know.
You realize that, like, these are voted on by our administration, Congress, and things like that. Republicans will vote yes on that too for aid. There are Republicans who will believe in that kind of aid, just like there were Republicans that voted against some of the bills for that have come out recently. Just like it was almost unanimous for the Epstein files to be released.
The liberal governments have been doing their best to manipulate people into being empathetic so that they could give all their money away, and then they just take it on the way, and no one will ever know that it all disappears.
Wait, what? So is Nux trying to imply that liberal governments encourage people to give away their money so they can say they're giving it to Africa when they're pocketing it for themselves? I do find it funny that he has to try and find some way to work into blaming liberals for this when, fun fact, liberal isn't the same thing as left wing at all. Those are actually two very separate ideologies. But also, even then, he is very easily disproved here given the fact that the money is automatic.
I have to go look at it, but there was like some rumor that since they didn't black it out correctly, that there's like 600 mentions of Trump in what we have now. Yeah, truly the most transparent administration in history.
Spent on resources for Africa. Like I stated before, the majority of those funds end up going straight to resources that are purchased for Africa and then shipped to them, although once again, a lot of that does get confiscated on the way, unfortunately, by the warlord. Which of course is very intentional, and there's also the whole trading thing with Ethiopia and Russia that I mentioned before as well. Nux is so smooth-brained that he can't actually understand any of the nuances to this situation whatsoever. He just has to constantly boil everything he says in this video down to, oh, liberals bad, colonization didn't exist, giving money to Africa bad, warlords not exist. It's so painfully stupid. And honestly, hearing his voice the entire time he's been reacting to this makes me think he's one of the most obnoxious react-tubers out there. He constantly has to be so extra and performative that it's really cringe and honestly pretty stupid. Even when discussing a serious topic like African poverty, he still does this entire performative extra thing.
This is a little off rails, but look at Beep over here kicking some ass while holding somebody. That's my boy.
It's wildly cringe and also just downright disrespectful.
You're glossing over a point here. No, but that was a really good video. I like how he highlighted the economic parts of it and refused to mention the other parts of it that I think are like actually incredibly important and relevant.
No, actually, Nux, the guy you just reacted to here did a pretty good job at actually talking about why Africa, despite getting so much money, never is able to help its people. It's because the money isn't going to the people. It is constantly being hoarded and misused by the warlords, which in turn are basically just the newer version of the colonists. Despite reacting to this video for 31 minutes, Nux did not glean anything from it whatsoever. Heck, he barely even reacted to it to begin with, honestly. Like, he kind of piped in every now and then saying stuff about Hassan's dog or whatever, or talking about communism, but funny enough, this is one of his less vocal reactions on his Nuxanor channel. And I think a big reason for that is because he quickly realized this video was not in his favor whatsoever. I'm not sure if he even watched this video before reacting to it, probably not knowing him, but if he had, he probably would have realized this video was going to talk about the real issues with Africa's history and not wanted to watch it after all. So in some ways, I am actually kind of glad he did choose to react to this video because it very clearly did expose his bias. Africa's history is a very deeply saddening and honestly very harsh tale, and it's a very real reality that we can't really shake at all. Any historian worth their salt is not going to disregard what happened in Africa whatsoever. But obviously, Nux is neither a real historian nor somebody worth his salt in any capacity anyway. Ultimately, what he is perhaps one of the biggest scumbags in the entire VTubing community. He started as an anti-tuber who intentionally ripped off other series and applied them to anime that eventually went into VTubing. And then he would use his VTubing clout and popularity on YouTube to get into contact with many other VTubers and creators in general, some of the biggest on the platform in fact. Ever since then, he has consistently shown himself to be a major clout chaser and egomaniac who will never take accountability for anything he does. There was that entire VShojo situation that I brought up briefly before where he ended up quote-unquote working with VShojo to try to stop some scammer that was pretending to be them. He ended up making a video that was very loud and very brash, supposedly quote-unquote exposing this person, and while VShojo actually thanked him on their main Twitter account for doing this, all the members of VShojo who didn't know this video was being made at all, ended up criticizing Nux for making this video at all since they felt like it was a bit clout chase for him and they felt pretty betrayed since they felt like their safety was at risk with how the video had been handled. Funny enough, not long after all the VShojo girls started speaking out against Nux, VShojo's main management Twitter account would delete their tweet thanking Nux and proceed to act like they had nothing to do with helping him make his video at all, being the giant pussies they are. Seriously, I cannot stand the VShojo management team at all, and I'm honestly really glad they got outed last year for charity fraud. Glad a lot of the good VTubers that were on that label are off doing better things now with better people. Then there was the whole Shadman situation, which Nux constantly tried to quote-unquote disassociate from Shadman while also constantly lying as well. He tried to act like the sole relationship he had with Shadman was Shadman randomly DMing him and being weird.
Yes, I did get DM'd by Shadman every once in a while, back in the day, rarely. I would just wake up out of the blue and boom.
Hey guys, yeah, I did get texts. Yeah, I did DM him and he DM'd me. We did talk about Lolly and share pictures, but I mean it was it was kind of like not that often.
I'd have a Shadman DM, and I would literally make fun of him for those DMs later.
When, funny enough, this is very disprovable since there is a documented history of tweets between Shadman and Nux, where Nux attempts to ask Shadman to collab with him, which Shadman says no to. Yeah, clearly it had nothing to do with Shadman, right, Nux? In addition to this,
Nux is so unlikable that even Shadman didn't want to have anything to do with him.
Nux has also tried to act like the only thumbnail of his that he had drawn by Shadman was the one for the Game of Thrones video he did. Which, funny enough, this is also a lie, and also very provably so. In fact, Nux has deliberately used other art from Shadman on his videos, such as this collaboration between Shadman and Belle Delphine.
Keemstar invited Belle Delphine to parties. After bringing up to Keem why he didn't expect a Belle Delphine apology, Keem's response was, actually, I had no idea that Belle Delphine had any involvement with the cartoon CP artist because I don't follow her content. So yeah, she definitely owes me an apology. But I do remember you supporting the CP artist! Get on the cancel train, baby! You didn't know that Belle Delphine was remotely related to Shadman. In my opinion, is probably cap, but I am willing to take the benefit of the doubt.
The thing is like, they were all like, pretty much porn. They were just censored porn. And it's like, it's very obvious that what he raised his channel from, and now he wants to act like he wasn't involved. There was no moral side of it, that he wasn't friends with this guy. No, he was actually the guy against him.
There's no evidence either way, innocent until proven guilty. I am willing to take the benefit of the doubt and assume that you really did not know. Even though Belle Delphine cosplayed Shadman a lot, all the time. They were collabing together. They cross-promoted. Shadman had entire series of comics with Belle Delphine as the main character of those series, and every single one of them went mega viral over the years.
Yeah, you heard that right. Those two did have a collaboration together where Belle Delphine started a comic made by Shadman. No, I'm not making this up, although knowing Belle Delphine, I'm pretty sure it's not really hard to question at all that this happened. Nux's continued lies and controversies have pushed most people away from him, except for one person, strangely enough, that being Mutahar of Some Ordinary Gamers. Funny enough,
Mutahar reference, let's go!
Nux to this day claims that he and Mutahar are still friends.
Yeah, still bring it. Belle Delphine of the big 2026. Gotta love it.
And many of the people that were once close to him have seemingly distanced themselves from him.
I'm still very close friends with Mutahar.
Mutahar was notable for trying to claim he wasn't going to be associated with Nux anymore going forward, only to go back on that not even long after he made that initial video. So Nux saying this actually does sound pretty accurate, given the fact Muta doesn't really seem to want to distance himself from Nux whatsoever, for whatever reason. And now Nux has been stuck in this
No, Muta is just pathetic because he wants to be the guy that's loved by everybody. Muta is the guy who goes to Reddit and reads comments about him. So the moment, like, he probably does want to, like, not be involved in the kind of stuff that Nux is involved in, but all of the hate he got on X is what caused him to flip. That's just how Mutahar works.
Anti-woke grifting rabbit hole for the better part of a year now. He was already lying about plenty of things for clout and attention, so it honestly makes sense he would go this route eventually anyway. And of course, that now involves him lying about real-world history, which is very dangerous. I am someone who is very passionate and very studied on world history. And even though I think there are a lot of people out there now that don't know as much about the history of the world as they probably should, people like Nux intentionally lying about history for their own personal political gain just makes things even worse. This is exactly the kind of thing that leads to a lack of literacy and also a lack of knowledge about real history. And that is a very dangerous state to be in. Fortunately though, people who actually know about history, such as myself, are very easily able to debunk somebody like Nux, who very clearly just wants to lie about it. Also, I'm gonna take this time to recommend some
critical. I have my problems with Moist. I mean, he's just a really basic commentary watch videos and say stuff about him. I wouldn't listen to any serious opinion that he has on most things. But all in all, I think he's all right.
History YouTubers that I think are actually good and offer real, in-depth, accurate reviews of various aspects of world history. Lord knows we need more of that in general. First up, I want to suggest Freda, who also, funny enough, is another anti-grifter. He is a big history YouTuber that has talked about many different aspects of world history, but similar to myself, he's also gone and debunked various people who have very intentionally lied about history. Very famously, he's called out Metatron, somebody also that I've debunked here on the channel, and Shadversity and Lindybit. Freda is a very good channel and one I definitely recommend if you want a very accurate, in-depth look at real history. Another one I recommend is Tolden Stone, who is a former university teacher who's talked about various eras of classical history.
Okay.
He's talked about ancient Egypt, the Greek and Roman empires, and plenty more that I definitely recommend checking out. Much like Freda, he actually knows what he's talking about, and I do highly recommend him. The last one I want to recommend here is none other than Sean Munger. Sean is definitely very good because he'll often look at historical accuracy when it comes to popular media. He's gone in and examined the historical accuracy of things like James Bond, Titanic, Gladiator, Indiana Jones, and plenty more, so I definitely recommend him quite a bit. Overall, I do hope in the future people will be looking at much more accurate sources for talking about history than somebody like Nuxtaku of all people. History is a very important subject to me and something I've studied for a long time, and I do think it's important that more people are aware of how things actually happened in it. That being said, if you'd like to see more history videos from me here on the channel in the future, given the fact I've already done 2 back-to-back now, let me know in the comments below. But regardless, I hope you enjoyed this video and hopefully you learned something new from it. I like to try to educate people with my content in general, or at least that is the goal of what I do here. And thankfully, it does look like me doing these kinds of videos is helping people actually see that these kinds of grifters aren't actual critics whatsoever, or historians for that matter. I think there's definitely something to be said for history-related grifters as much as there is for media-related grifters in general. So thanks everybody, I'm happy to keep hunting grizzly bears. But
And there it is, Otterly Noah. Pretty good take here. I didn't have, I don't think, any real disagreements with what he's saying. But it's pretty hard to have a bad take on Nuxtaku. Of course, we all know Nux. Nux is definitely something else. Probably one of the worst ones out there, up there with like Tectone. And apparently their friend, Tactical Templar, the pathetic wretch that he is. So let's take a look here. I am constantly getting my ass beat as per Kenshi. Ooh, excuse me. Tactical Templar, Nux, Rev, and Tectone on the Nightmare Blunt rotation. I mean, I don't even know what to think of those guys. I don't understand the like absolute stupidity. And I don't understand how people like fall for it either. And this is coming from a guy that did believe in a lot of the anti-woke stuff, but once you start looking at it, it's just you just realize how bad it is and how off all of these people are. Fake Templars are fake Christians and all. Well, that's true. No one digs on their past. No one digs on the things that they're saying. People just watch it and clap. No one wants to know the truth. They just want to hear the words that they want to hear, right? So I'll say it again. If you're new to the stream, go ahead and drop me a like here, or even if you're not new, drop me a like here. Helps me as a channel grow, pushes me out there to more people. Of course, we talk about all sorts of subjects on here. If you're extra generous, go ahead. You can hit that subscribe button and help me out on my road to 500. My next goal is 200. And then, finally, if you have something you want me to watch or talk about, I have a section in my Discord called Feed the Pig. Put stuff in there. If I find interest in it, I will bring it up and we'll talk about it on channel. All right. So now let's get on to a subject that I don't really know anything about. They've been woke on the past and they will probably be woke again in the future. but they're saying what I want to hear in the present. And for a lot of people, it's all that matters. Oh, 100%. Once the narrative shifts, all of these people will shift their narrative. I mean, we've seen Asmongold do it. We've seen Tectone do it. We've seen, I don't know about Nux. I don't know much of his history besides him being a degenerate lolicon. But it's very common for these guys. We've seen Smash JT do it. It's very common for these guys only to speak on the things that they think are popular and they think people want to hear. And then, once they catch it, they're gonna feed it until it dies. And then once the pendulum starts shifting, they're gonna move right onto it. But let's take a look at a different video.
Black Souls.
All right. This is a video by a YouTuber named Crit Croc. I've heard about this game, and it's, it's...
Right, before we go...
degeneracy, or what it is and things like that. So I've always kind of added it to the list of games I want to learn about. I love learning about weird, obscure, and horrific games on the internet that have been created. So we're going to do this one. Boo, coming up next. And this one's about an hour and a half, so this one's probably going to go over a little bit. Well, it's not obscure, yes, I agree, but games that are, let's say, controversial games, right? Not necessarily obscure, but controversial games.
Boom. Go any further, I'm gonna get it out of the way immediately. This game has some extreme sexual topics, and when I say extreme, I mean extreme. Within it includes rape as well. I cannot show any of this on YouTube at all. None of the sexual stuff I can show. For obvious reasons, I do want to keep my channel. But I will discuss key scenes and talk about the rape itself and if it actually adds anything to the game's story or world or anything like that, or if it doesn't. And I'll critique that. I think it's more interesting to look at these things in more of a critical sense than to just sort of point at them, say they're disgusting or good or whatever you look at them as, and move on from it. So please, viewer discretion is advised, so just watch yourself. Black Souls, the first game in the Black Souls series, a series of dark fantasy.
I found a video on Black Souls 2 as well. I think it's by the same guy. So if we like this video, we may watch that one on another stream too.
Souls-like JRPGs made in the RPG Maker game engine, developed by Sushi Yusha Toro, or as he's known online, Eeny Meeny Miny Mo. And yes, just by the name itself, it's painfully obvious that this game is more than a little bit inspired by arguably the most influential game of all time. I said arguably, don't bite my fucking head off. Not only does it pull from Dark Souls in many different aspects, it also pulls many influences for its world from many of the great European writers of classic fairy tales. Writers like Charles Perrault, Hans Christian Andersen, Lewis Carroll, and of course the Brothers Grimm. Despite all this inspiration from many different sources, what good is inspiration if it can't hold its own in its own world and own narrative that can blaze its own path? So without further ado, let's dive in.
Black Souls is the only porn game. If someone told me they played for the story, I'd believe it. Are you trying to set yourself up, Kamoji? Is that what you're about to tell me?
To Black Souls proper, into one of the most disturbing JRPGs that has ever been made.
So we'll go ahead and say this ahead of time. Like, he already mentioned rape. He already mentioned, the sexual assault stuff. And these are, it's really good unironically. Okay, I'll believe you. I'll believe that. I trust Kamoji takes. And already off the bat, he's talking about the rape. He's talking about the sexual assault of it. These things are obviously hard topics, but can be used to tell a good story. Obviously, there's some ways that are tasteful and there's some ways that are not. I want to see how it's implemented here.
So Alice here allows us to create our character, which of course includes us inputting our name as whatever you want it to be, but also a starting background, with 3 being available, basically our starting classes: Knight, Thief, and Sorcerer. And these three can make quite a big difference early on, but late game, they don't really matter, and they don't have any sort of long-term repercussions for picking whatever one you pick. But let's go through each one, just so if you play this game, you know what one each one is. The Knight has a higher starting defense and attack than the other two, and also gets a skill straight away which allows the player to drop the enemy's attack and defense within battle. Honestly, is a strong starting setup and class, and is actually very beginner friendly, as the setup here with high defense and attack makes the game slightly easier and not as punishing, especially early on. Next is the Thief, and I thought this would allow you to get a skill like lockpicking, but no, you actually just get a higher speed stat and an ability which allows you to insta-kill enemies under the right circumstances. But also you get a bonus of 1,000 souls as well. Honestly, at first, the Thief looks like the worst one, but a certain stat, speed, is the king in this game, and it means that Thief is actually the best starting class to basically level up as fast as possible and get the best stats at early game. And Sorcerer, which gives a higher magic, and Sorcerer, which gives a higher magic stat and also a higher resistances stat, with the ability Soul Arrow being available at the very beginning.
I don't mind the classes, sound pretty basic stuff.
An ability which is a basic magic attack, basically. And as I stated, which one is the best? It's Thief. Speed is the king stat in this game, the one that this game completely relies on, and what will pretty much determine your success in this game is your speed stat. But honestly, as I stated, it isn't the end of the world depending on which one you pick, so just choose whichever one you want to use, honestly. And to be honest, it doesn't really matter, so pick away. With us selecting our background, we can also pick a starting gift from a master key, a life ring, a piece of candy, or a divine blessing. Honestly, again, it doesn't really matter. It's very much like Dark Souls 1 with the starting gifts. These are very much used for sort of routes that you're going to take within the game for your playthrough. For example, in Dark Souls, the one that most people always recommend you take is the key, which allows you to unlock a certain door very early on that will allow you to get a better weapon. It's very much used for people that are more experienced in the game, but honestly, again, it doesn't really matter. These aren't big enough changes, and you can get all these items in the game later on as well. So just pick whichever one you think would be advantageous to you. It doesn't really matter, but some of these items, or one of these items, is used within a specific quest in this game, which I'll get into in a minute, so keep that in mind. However, the very next question that Alice asks us is if we're interested in carnal acts. A fun word, and for those who don't know what that word actually means, because I know not everyone knows words like this, it just means sexual stuff. The game allows you to completely turn off all the hentai scenes, which
have people
is good,
really not
honestly.
heard of like carnal acts? Is that not out there? It's a little interesting that it's a question that comes up in an RPG. I would definitely stop and be like, okay, this is a little weird.
It is good that it allows people to turn it off, but I didn't turn them off because I wanted to play this game in its original state as the creator intended,
average Zoomer
and also because I
isn't
wanted to
super
torture
literate.
myself.
Yeah,
But
okay.
again, I can't
Thank
show
you.
any of that, but no, I did suffer through all of it. With all our questions answered, we can now begin the game proper, with Alice telling us that we will meet her again at some point, and then she decides like she don't know nobody. Oh, that ain't too good. And now we enter a dungeon. It's exactly like the start of Dark Souls, with us being stuck in a prison cell. With no escape possible at the moment, but after waiting a couple of seconds, a young female soldier appears, killing both the guards rather effortlessly. Now this is Holy Knight Jean, and I'll be honest,
That sounds a little woke to me. I'm gonna say it now. A woman comes in and saves me? That ain't right.
I'm not going to voice any of the female characters, it does my voice in like hell. But she is the first of the 10 female companions that we will meet within this game, and yes, there is 10 of them, and no, I'm not going to voice any of them because, again, I don't want to do my voicing again. But she fills a similar role to Oscar of Astora from Dark Souls. She helps to break us out of our jail cell, unintentionally compared to what Oscar did in Dark Souls, but she does help us break out, and following her path, we can meet up with her, but along that path, we also enter our first bit of combat. So let's talk the gameplay of Black Souls. Now, Black Souls, honestly, at first, its combat is quite confusing, because it doesn't really explain anything, which I do like. I like when games don't explain shit to you, and you just gotta
Girl boss,
Work it
that's
out.
right. Japan is
But
fallen.
of course, it's fairly basic
over.
turn-based combat. You attack, your enemy attacks, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You take one action per turn. It's simple as that. But the thing that caught my eye was this meter, the AP meter, which needs to charge up in order for you to attack. So this game is all about speed. So if an enemy is faster than you, they will most likely attack first in combat, or at worst, they might attack multiple times before your AP meter can completely charge up. But this fact itself also applies to you. In Black Souls, your success in combat relies heavily on your stats and setup, as worse stats can be offset by some very powerful support buffs from summons.
The Black Souls combat is not complex. I don't know what he's on about. I don't know. It seems like he's over analyzing it a little bit, maybe.
But if you never get the chance to actually use them buffs, you're basically done for. However, this does mean...
I mean, is this game hard like Fear and Hunger? Like, is it that kind of game that you're going for it, or is it just more like, I guess, traditional, where it's not really that difficult a game to get through?
Like something like Dark Souls or any
It's
other
not hard, it's
Soulsborne game,
gritty,
early game
grindy?
it's pretty tough,
Okay.
but late game you get so over leveled that you can just wipe the floor with everything in the game. At the end of the game, I started one-shotting everything, and if it didn't, I would get 3 or 4 attacks before the enemy could
Sounds
even hit
perfectly
me. The
balanced to
game
me.
gets very, very easy, and a lot of people said this game was as hard as Fear and Hunger. It's not. This is a pretty simple RPG in my eyes, and I never really struggled with it, but it's still good fun though, I will say that. I do like the combat system. I just wish there was a bit more challenge, and there is a challenge mode in this game, which I might come back to and play, but at the moment, not right now. Now, beating enemies, just like Dark Souls, you may receive a fun
It's literally
variety of
nothing like Fear
different
and Hunger.
items, which can be absolutely anything in the game. And of course, you always get souls. And like Dark Souls as well, I'm going to keep fucking saying it, souls can be used to purchase items, skills from many vendors, and of course, to level up. By defeating our first enemy, we can finally regroup with Jean, and she fully introduces herself as Jean d'Arc, hailing from Orleans, obviously a Joan of Arc character thing, or the fairy tale retelling of her story, but she explains to us that the world is in ruins with demon beasts, and a mysterious fog plaguing the land, with the fog turning humans into these beasts. I wonder where they got the fog from. Fucking demon souls, obviously. She says that she will help escort us out of Fort Ivan to safety, so she joins us while we make our way out of the fort. Of course, there are monsters along the way you can engage in combat, but you can also explore the area, grabbing a variety of items that we can utilize within our journey later on. But as we are approaching the end of the fort, for Jean, just like Oscar, she asks us to lend our strength to her in her quest to fix the world. Unlike Oscar though, he did it in a place of pleading, with him dying there, and Jean's doing it more like, hey, you want to join me and we can go change the world? So yeah, she's not going to die. But she states that even an undead can become a hero, which is what we are. We're an undead, kind of like Dark Souls. Again, I'm going to keep saying it. But we can either just...
like, I get what they're going for. I think if you're going to make a Souls-like game, or, you know, you're going to mimic, I guess, some of Souls-like in that world, you don't always have to do the exact same thing. Like, you don't have to be the undead. Like, we can change the story around a little bit and still have a Souls. Like, obviously there can still be things in there that are like staples of Souls likes, or any genre really, like the the campfires and things like that. I'm not a big Souls like guy, so I'm not going to get everything right about that, but I know when I look at the market, they all kind of look the same.
completely stay silent, or we can promise her to help her. Doesn't matter what you pick, because 5 seconds later, a funny little dragon pops up and burns Jean to death as well. That is a horrible way to die. With Jean dying there, now of course we don't die to the dragon, but we now get into our first boss fight, akin to, again, the first boss fight in Dark Souls, which you're meant to lose. This is the Hellkaiser. Now, as I stated, you are meant to lose this boss fight. You're not meant to be familiar enough with the combat system at all, but if you do beat the boss, you get access to a very powerful weapon, the Drake Sword. So honestly, it is very much worth beating this boss if you can, as this weapon will carry carry you to the very late game and can even beat the game for you. Yes, it's a bit boring because you don't really engage with any of the other weapons, but honestly, the weapons aren't different enough to really warrant you picking and choosing. The weapons are very similar to a game where you just upgrade it over time, as each weapon is sort of just in a hierarchy. So honestly, getting a great weapon early on, it just makes the game a bit easier and something less to worry about. But losing or winning to the boss, we are transported to the Holy Forest. And this is our Firelink Shrine, in which we can light our very first bonfire, which are our respawn points and allow us to refill our health and flasks when we get them, but we can also fast travel from them. So they're pretty much your central place that you'll go to restore health, items, refill them, and also get around the map, especially late game when you need to teleport all over the shop. But we can also meet the Prayer Master.
Hey, you came here too? I guess I was carried here is a better way to put it. No worries, this ain't the Netherworld. This is just a place for those who became wanderers to make the first step, the center of the board. I see. Seems like there's something you want to do, right? Maybe you're hoping to save the world, or maybe rule all of mankind? Doesn't matter to me either way. But if you've got souls to trade, I'll help you. Spend time in this forest as you like, that's fine too. Though I gotta warn you that there are demon beasts lurking just outside of here, so try not to die.
So is he just gonna go over the entire
that's not something you need to worry about. Oh, and do find Leaf before leaving. She's not like the other fairies. I'm sure she'll be of use to you.
The Prayer Master acts as our level up guy, and also our main vendor.
I was hoping
for
he was going to talk more
items.
about the rate.
We will use
but I guess he's going to
very commonly for all of our needs, specifically for leveling up our character specifically. But also down some stairs we can meet our blacksmith.
You? Who? Want weapon strong? Then keep all I make strong.
Just like the many smiths of the Dark Souls and whatever other universes we can think of, he is a friendly face that allows us to power up our weapons to make them even stronger later in the game. But of course, we need to find items to do that, so we can't utilize them quite just yet. But we can also meet the crestfallen hero, someone that seems to be a hero from before our time. Now, Black Souls is a true man's RPG, and I mean it is very open-ended. Like Dark Souls 1, we are given an objective to kill the 4 demonic princesses from this guy here, who is very
demonic
friendly,
princesses
who are in
killing women. Let's go. Calm down. It's coming.
differing
Don't tell me to calm down.
locations.
I came here for a very specific reason.
Again, this is pretty much the same thing as Dark Souls. We can tackle these objectives in whatever order you want and in any way you want. But there are also many side quests scattered about the lands and characters to meet along the way, so we do have a main final objective to chase, but we also can engage with some smaller side objectives to keep us going, because we won't really be engaging with them princesses till much later in the game. Now, for this video, I followed a guide which ensured that I hit every single side objective and main objective within the game completely, as I didn't want to miss a thing. So it ensured that I got all the side quests done, I did all the companions and got them all recruited, and also ensured I got all endings, which is very good and it was very nice to have. But with enough rambling, let's get rambling. We begin our journey in the Forest of Abandoned, a simple area which allows you to figure out the combat and exploration part of the game. First up in the Forest of Abandoned, we can meet our first companion that we can recruit, Leaf. Leaf will be basically essential for your early game in Black Souls due to how strong her abilities are, especially early on. And here we can find a very important item for the game, the Anti-Fairy.
Oh, you
the
came just at the
Anti-Fairy.
right time. These days really go too far with their bothersome blanks. Just today, they've torn off 16 leaves of mine. Well, you seem a bit more mobile than I am. Why don't you punish those noisy flies for me? If very much, all you'll need is to really punish them.
The Anti-Fairy,
What
which
a
we will not
voice.
use quite just yet. And also a character who will be part of a much wider quest, Tortoise Knight Adamant.
Oh, an adventurer. Can't breathe well in this trash-filled forest. Oh, forgive my rudeness. I'm called Adamant of Andor. Please accept this as a token of our meeting. Oh, and allow me to warn you. Among other things, you may find a talking flower somewhere in this forest. The mucus of it, I heard, can melt even the sturdiest armor. Be cautious, I say. The Lost Empire. I heard of it, of course. In the past it was brimming with energy, but ever since the Queen went mad, it's filled with demon beasts. Sadly, I have a different destination now. A joyous happening it would be to cooperate with another adventurer and bring down such foes. Oh, and be wary of the white fog. Such fog heralds danger. A formidable foe may await you beyond it.
With Adamant giving us some good world building and a clear objective of what to do, we continue forward to the witch's house, ensuring we don't pick up any items along the way, because inside we can meet Hansel and Gretel, and if we pick up any of the items, they turn into demon beasts. And no, I can't do young children voices. I lost that ability many years ago when my voice decided to go very deep, so I can't do their voices either, and I'm not going to voice them because it will destroy my voice and I'll be out of commission for a few days. But giving them the piece of candy that you can pick up from the start, you can make the boy very happy, but we can head upstairs and we can meet Dorothy, yes, of Wizard of Oz fame, with her being rather aggressive and, what's that option right there? What does that say? I guess we should talk
Okay.
about it now, eh? Alright, I'm gonna keep this very brief because I honestly think this is something that I don't need to just ramble on about. So in Black Souls, you can rape any of the female characters and a couple of the male ones that you meet along your journey. Now, do I think this feature is necessary? Kind of. I think the feature
Kind of. Okay, that's surprising to hear.
Yes, shocking, and it's meant to be shocking. It does tie into the game's themes and also does tie into the usage of the many older fairy tales with the game's world and story. The old fairy tales, they weren't exactly completely squeaky clean, and many of them did have themes of sexual assault in them. They weren't as explicit as this, but they were there. But within the game, you never actually need to engage with this mechanic, so by that statement, no, it's not necessary, and honestly, you could take this out and the game would still functionally be fine. But as an RPG as well, it does add a level of player choice, and it does allow you to play the most evil fucker in the world. You can play as that evil character in the fairy tales that did all those things. But honestly, I think its presence here is validated in a weird way. I know that's really odd for me to say, but it does tie into the game's themes and everything about fantasy and the messed up side of having fantasies in that way. But the good thing about this game though is the mechanic is never presented as a good or positive thing that you do. It is always the negative thing. Whenever you use it, it's always seen as bad, not only because you lose certain characters, quests, so on and so forth, but also the sin mechanic in the game heavily punishes you for engaging with it. So it never actually makes the action of rape a good thing. I know, brave statement from me, a man. Rape is bad, of course, but I think the game does use it in a way that is okay. It isn't there for the sake of shock value. While many people will say that, I don't think it's there for that reason. I think it's there more to tie into the game's narrative themes and the world's themes as well. So
Okay. Yeah, like I said, I think these themes can be used if it ties in with the world, right? Yeah, the first time you see that, it's going to be a shock. But is the initial like idea of rape being in the game just? I feel like if it is put in there good, obviously I need to see more. Put in there in a good way, like he's saying, as being seen as negative, tying in with the themes and things like that. Anybody who would be talking about it of just because you can do it in the game, it's evil, is probably pretty low IQ.
It does, I think, warrant it being there in a weird way. There are plenty of other stories, games, whatever, that have these in them that are just there for shock value. But Black Souls does sort of build a case that honestly it kind of needs it to tell the level of story that it's going for in a way. But as I stated, you never actually have to indulge with this mechanic, so in that way it's not really needed. But I'm going to stop rambling because honestly I don't really know how to explain why until we get more towards the endings of the game, so I'm going to save that for later. So let us continue. But we can ask to become her apprentice, with her being reluctant, but she agrees as long as we fulfill a request for her to kill 3 targets.
If you do it too much, it raises your sin counter and it has negative consequences gameplay wise. Okay. I've always liked that. I think that's a good way to do it. I know in a lot of games, like doing the evil shit tends to make you be more powerful in the sense of like, if you rob the store, you can get more stuff and money and things like that. You know, it's not usually seen in a negative light. There's not really consequences for it. So, stronger enemies start to appear, and companions may turn hostile. Okay, so you mean like things that would happen? Okay, so it's like you're making this choice, but it's going to affect the way your game is. I could definitely see that being part of it. And now, here's the question I have, Kimoji. If you do choose rape, is there like some long, drawn out, I don't know, cutscene or description of what's happening? You can fix the sin counter later on, so you can do it and then get redeemed.
Targets: the Cowardly Lion, the Tin Woodman, and the Scarecrow. Which, damn, Dorothy. Okay, I didn't realize you guys were like that now. We agree to this quest,
it's a
however, and
hentai
then
game.
we head out to hunt them.
Oh,
But outside,
okay.
we meet another
Fair,
individual,
fair.
Sinner Wilt.
Damn it. I must do it. If I waste any more time, if I don't gather determination. Oh, who are you? Are you of the Black Trial? Oh, so you aren't. Better off ignoring me then. You're still here. Wait, I have a good idea. Hey, you, cooperate with me. It won't be a bad deal, I promise. These children, Hansel and Gretel, they are my family. You saw them too, right? At this rate, they'll turn
You
into
can turn
demon
off the
beasts
scenes,
soon.
though. Okay.
I've gathered souls somehow to save the children. But, I'm not prepared. I want to feed souls to them, but I'm too...
I am a pretty big fan too of fairy tales brought in, like the darker side of the fairy tales brought into games and things like that. I think it can be very interesting and well done, depending on, of course, how you do it. So I can say I like that aspect. It's a porn game, so I'll never play it, but this game is an amalgamate of fairy tales and British folklore. Okay.
too nervous. I can't gather the courage. You understand, right? I need that medicine. With it, I'll be a fine hero. There's a girl named Elma living in Rottenburg beyond the sewers. Can I ask you buy the medicine from her? Here's the advance pay and a small reward.
So Cinderwilt seems to be associated with Hansel and Gretel, being their older brother seemingly. But he seems fearful of a group called the Black Trial, and he asks us to find a girl called Elma and buy a match from her for him, some medicine. So we oblige and we note down the request and we tell him we will be back with the medicine. But from here we move towards the warehouse up north, finding the Cowardly Lion inside, and we murder him. With the Cowardly Lion murdered and the warehouse looted, we now head back out and head towards the Behemoth Ranch, where we can find the Tin Woodman and kill him as well. But also here we can find Goose, the goose that lays the golden egg. Goose goes on about being captured by the three little pigs and everything, and we agree to save her, and we use a master key to unlock the chains off of her. And she will now return to the Holy Forest, and she will act as a bank for us to store our souls in. So when we die, we don't lose them forever. Now we fight the Scarecrow and kill him.
Brains, give me your brains.
And head back to Dorothy and become her apprentice, and she rewards us with, I can't show any of that on YouTube. Yes, she has sex with us. How fun. But with this, we now obtain Dorothy as our first, as a summon, and summons like Dark Souls can be leveled up. So how do we level up a summon? Well, surely we get an item like you do in Dark Souls or Elden Ring. No, you use souls to level them up. So the souls you earn, you have to give to them and they level up. And we have to do something called Soul Feed. So what is that? I just want you to guess. Just have a fucking guess. Just guess. What do you think you have to do with Soul Feed? Yeah, you have to fucking fuck them. Of course you do. In one way or another. And I'm not going to explain what souls actually are in this game, but I'm sure you can figure out why you need to do the deed with them to soul feed them. Feed them. Like, come on, guys. Like, put two and two together. I'm not going to completely spell it out for you. Anyway, though, moving on, we head to Rottenburg and find Elma in her store and buy the cheeky little match that was requested, and we can now head back to Wilt, giving him the medicine.
Have you brought the medicine? Oh, thank you. Thank you. You're truly a good man. Well, no point in delaying it. I'll drink it all at once. Ha! Incredible. I feel like I can do anything. Now's not the time to dawdle. We must share the souls with the children.
He now heads in with him wanting to feed souls to them. Yeah, that was his plan all along. He just wanted to fuck the two kids. So to save the kids from this horrible fate, we kill Wilt. And killing him, Hansel and Gretel thank us, but state that they are running dangerously low on souls, and they need to be fed souls. For fuck's sake. Now this is entirely what the loop of Black Souls is.
Well, I mean, I guess you save kids from a pedo. Is that what he just said?
You meet a character, you do something for them, they're low on souls, and you fuck them. Yes, you have to choose. You could either choose to fuck one, the other, or both of them. I'm not going to keep going on because this was fucking weird. I will be honest. I did not enjoy it. So let's just move on and forget about it. With Hansel and Gretel saved, we can now head out and head back to Rottenburg, and we can save a cute dog as well and confront the Iron King in the mansion.
Annoying. Will every woman turn useless so quickly? Who the hell are you? Only a fool would step into my bedroom uncooled. Your stupidity deserves death. Not to mention, you're a man. I shall trample you flat.
Well, fighting the Iron King and killing him, as he has killed a few too many maids because his lust seems insatiable, we can enter the back room and find a maid, Victoria, who thanks us for saving her, but guess what? She also needs souls. She states that if she does not receive souls, she will forget everything and she will go probably hollow. So let's fill her up for fuck's sake.
This game has
I can't
voice
do it
acting.
anymore.
That's
We
surprising.
oblige with this request,
I'm
giving
pretty
her
sure that's
1,000
Crit
souls.
Croc.
But she gets a bit too frisky and takes 5,000, which, fuck me. Lass knows what she wants and she got it. But with Victoria doing it with us probably 5 times in a row, which, Jesus Christ, stronger man than me, we now get Victoria as a summon, and honestly, she's probably the best companion in the game, especially once you get her ultimate ability, because it is just extremely
Is he trying to say that she's the best companion because she fucks you like 5 times?
powerful. And honestly, very much worth the price of admission of 5,000 souls, because that's honestly nothing. But moving on, we can head to Fort Ivan through the door downstairs, which, yes, this is the place we started the game at. Why are we here? Well, we're here to find a very key item to save a certain someone. We obtain Jean's ashes from where she was burnt by the dragon. Now, if you didn't kill the dragon earlier on, you'll have to kill the dragon here now. So it's honestly better to kill the dragon at the beginning because you get the sword for it. You get my point. But with this item obtained, we can now make our way to the prison cells where we started, and we can save the Hair Knight from his prison cell.
You? Who are you? I thought it's that bastard came back. There are no other locked doors on the way out, right? I can finally leave. My name is Nimiraj. I came from Andor. I'm here seeking the phantom treasure of this country. On the way, I teamed up with a fellow knight. Damn him. Only for him to betray me. But thanks to you, I'm saved from turning into a demon beast's fodder. His name is Adamon. You two should be wary of him.
I thought he said Asman. I got anti-wokers on the brain.
And when you see it, that shithead takes pleasure in killing. Well, I'm sure we both had to kill before. But if you kill, at least do it for the sake of the world. Don't let his silver tongue trick you.
Rent-free, that's
what a
right.
friendly fella. Obviously, the 2 knights are the tortoise and the hare, that story, and explains why there's a rivalry between the 2 of them. But also here, we can save Izu here.
Not knowing me, you are still willing to lend aid. I'm traveling knight Izu.
Izu, to me, kind of reminded me a bit of Solaire. He's kind of like the friend character who's on a similar journey to you. Great character, I love him, but let's continue on. Heading back to Behemoth Ranch, we can kill the hyena, obtaining the 3 Little Pigs storybook, which are kind of the main collectible in this game, and you need to collect them all to obtain one of the endings. But also here we can kill the Bremen group of animals, and we can obtain the hidden body ability. Probably, honestly, the best ability early on. It's essentially a stealth skill. You go invisible and you can run past all the enemies, so it completely trivializes the entire game early on. And combat isn't the best way to level up in this game. The best way to level up in this game, especially early on, is just selling all the items you obtain, because a lot of them aren't worth using early on, especially the color souls items like the red, blue, green, yellow, black, white, ashen souls. It's better to just sell them and get a shit ton of souls from them, and then level up your character to get an increase in stats all around instead of a specific stat. So avoiding combat early on especially is honestly a better use of your time, because leveling up with combat isn't exactly the best way to go around it. But now we head to Jacob's mine from Behemoth Ranch, and in the mine we do a wee bit of leveling, because there is actually some pretty good enemies here which kind of go against the point I just made about combat not being great. But the enemies here drop some very good items, so it's worth killing them, and they sell for quite a bit. But we can also find Adam in here again.
Off topic, but Jaffe is doing any topic live chats again. You should talk to him sometime. It'd be interesting. Yeah, absolutely. I would do it. Let's see. I'll have to reach out and see if there's a topic he wants to talk about. I'm sure he's got a lot. Boom, 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 boom. Why did I open this? All right, appreciate it. I'll take a look at it.
But also, there is a miner here, so we can save him as he's by the bonfire by giving him some medicine and yada yada yada, and also a boss fight within the mines, which is Behemoth, who is made completely trivial by using Leaf's abilities. But after doing everything in the mine, we can now head back to the Holy Forest and meet Catherine and her
He does seem
guards.
to not like the fact that a lot of these bosses seem very Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll have to stop into one of his chats sometime and see. So it seems like this guy's saying a lot of the bosses are trivial. Is that true, Kimoji? Does it seem like it's not very difficult? You just fly by all of them?
I'm sure nothing bad will ever happen to the fair maiden in any game that is labeled Souls with knights around her. That has never happened before, and the maiden always survives every Souls game they ever appear in. That is foreshadowing. Something terrible is going to happen to her. It's very obvious. It happened in Demon Souls, it happened in Dark Souls. But anyway, talking to her and wishing her well, we head back to the Behemoth Ranch and find a rather large white bull creature and milk it, which is what you do to any mysterious creature. You just milk it straight away. Why do we want the milk? Well, if you head towards the Helzer Desert, we can find these rabbits. And if you feed the rabbits the milk, they allow you to ride them, which increase your speed a shit ton. The reason we're in the Helzer Desert is we're here to obtain a couple of key items, mainly the Desert Rose, and to also make our way into the Garden of Snow, which is actually quite a challenging area. It's much higher level than you'll be at this point, especially I was. So you shouldn't be here to kill anything, just use your stealth skill and make your way to Snow White's castle and get the bonfire. But also loot Snow White's castle, as all the people in there are dead, other than that white bunny, which I wonder if that has anything to do with Alice in Wonderland. Who cares though? We quickly grab Atlantic Invitation, and with that we can now head back to the Holy Forest and quickly go to Lops to upgrade our Dragon Sword to max, as within the Snow White castle you should obtain every upgrade item that you need. With the Drake Sword completely maxed out, you no longer need to rely on Leaf or any other companion to do the damage for you, because the Dragon Sword has one of the strongest abilities in the game, apart from another sword, that can one-shot most enemies. So the game got completely trivial now here for me. But also in the Holy Forest, I did something stupid. I accidentally sold the Desert Rose, which is a key quest item, so I prevented myself from getting a very powerful item later on. I did it completely accidentally, and I didn't mean to, and I didn't realize I sold it. So this is the point where I'm just laughing at myself, and it's annoying that I can see where I got rid of the rose and lost it. But again, it's kind of annoying there's no...
I had $1 every time that I sold something I shouldn't have sold.
buyback.
I could buy it back.
Option, or there was no locked thing for quest items, which I don't think you should really ever be able to sell in any game, because that could potentially lock you out of something that is important. But after the mistake is made, I made my way to the Elixir Graveyard Town, fully utilizing the stealth skill, and made my way over to the Tainted Bog in order to meet the Frog Princess, one of the 4 demonic princesses, and we entered a covenant with her, just like the many factions within Dark Souls entering a covenant with them. But instead of giving them an item like humanity, we enter it with sex. Of course we do. Of course we do. Now the
Okay, come on. This guy bought this game knowing it's a hentai game and is surprised that there's so much sex involved. I think you knew what you were at least getting into with that.
Frog Princess has such powerful sex with you, your level resets completely, which
Powerful
I
sex.
hope you didn't invest too much into your levels to get the ring she gives you from entering the Covenant, which is one of the most powerful rings in the game, which is why you want to enter the Covenant with her. But with our level reset now, we quickly walk back to the Holy Forest, and I quickly leveled up again because I saved a bunch of souls for this exact reason, and we can also buy...
Annoyed for finding a fork in the kitchen. Very much so.
Buy some master keys from the Prayer Master. So now with all these master keys, we now head back to the Elixir Town and reach another bonfire, but we also save Izu again from an ambush he was caught in.
Oh, splendid valor, we meet again. By your aid, I was able to advance further. For that, I'm grateful. Please accept this. The wicked fog causing people to turn into demon beasts. The one who forms it, demonic princess Cinderella. She is my mother. In memories of people, she was a wise, gentle mother. What evil could have brought her to insanity? Though I've cast away the country and escaped, now I want to meet with her, no matter what it takes. Yet to enter the Lost Empire, one must defeat the 4 demonic princesses. Most vexatious, that.
But also we can find the Hare Knight as well, just above him. Like Dark Souls, the quests are odd and you just have to speak to them to progress the quest. So with these 2 spoken to, we've progressed the quest to the point we need to, and we can now make our way to the Sea of Trash to face the
So I wonder, because I think one staple that's kind of come around with like Dark Souls, which actually, the way Kenshi tells stories is actually inspired by the Dark Souls genre, where it just doesn't tell you any lore. You have to find bits and pieces and hopefully put something together, and even then there's still not enough. But is there like a deeper lore to this game that you can read about or find out, or is it really just going through the story?
Kraken in order to obtain another key item, the Kraken Tentacle. With the Kraken Tentacle obtained and heading back to the Holy Forest, you might notice at this point, because it depends on
tentacles in hentai game. Here we go.
Where it happens, Goose might have vanished. With Goose vanished, you'll have to run all over the shop to try find her, but spoiler alert, she's in the Sea of Trash in the tent that you might have spotted when you went to go kill the Kraken. And inside you'll find Goose. Basically, Goose was running a scam, being a banker, but then doing a runner with any souls that you stored within the bank, and depending on the dialogue you choose, she will either completely disappear from the game entirely, you can take her as a sex slave and rape her, which, I mean, fuck, if you want to do that, you can, or you can choose to not forgive her, and she keeps trying to convince you to forgive her by trying to entice you. But if you continue to, you can then express your true undying love to her, which catches her off guard and caught me off guard because the dialogue felt fucking out of nowhere. But hey ho, avians and reptiles are similar in more ways than people realize, so you can confess your true love to Goose, and she realizes that she...
I don't think that's necessarily like a dig on the game though for it, because you don't have to like I said, you don't have to take every aspect of a Dark Souls, and it doesn't seem like it really seems like you said an amalgamation of fairy tales. So what deeper lore could you necessarily build upon it? It's just what sounds like little interesting quests with characters you've heard of.
She actually does like us, and she goes back to being in the Holy Forest as the banker, and we also obtain her as a summon. But now heading to the cathedral, an interesting sight is occurring. Oh, that ain't too good, is it? With the pooch being killed very quickly by our hands, we can head to the Skeleton Maze entrance, and we have 2 objectives here, and the reason we are here. One is to save Catherine from her 2 knights who have fallen in battle and turned into demon beasts, and the other is to meet a rather friendly shaman.
A visitor here. No worries. I'm a good-natured skeleton. I'm not thinking of devouring you. Oh, no.
Yeah,
well,
Japanese interpretation of little stories.
Yeah, that
okay.
Song of heroism and malice. He keeps singing every day, that guy. Taken with it. Soon enough, other skeletons will join into song too. I bet. But for you, it's nothing more than a piercing noise drilling through your head, ain't it? Well, what you came for? Recently, I found the spirit of a young female knight wandering through the maze. Took her under my care. Still so young. Poor thing. I had her body before. I know how painful it is. If only I had her body, I could have revived her. But seems like she was burnt by dragon flame, you know? Well, with her ashes and a kraken's tentacle, maybe I'd still find a way to revive her. But, alas.
The shaman here hints that a woman's spirit has been wandering the maze, lost, but she could be revived if we obtained her ashes and a Kraken tentacle. Wow, it's almost as if we got them items specifically for this thing. With us already having them because the guide explained that we needed to get them fast, we hand him the items and he starts to resurrect Jean.
Well, now I'll be calling your body back into the world of living, restoring your honor, memory, flesh, and belongings. You need to firmly crave yourself into your memory, show your raw desires to the world, and make it remember how you were alive. Jean, your name is Jean. Now, return.
Jean.
With Jean being revived, she's incredibly weak, so guess what we have to do?
Oh boy, this isn't good. She don't have enough souls. She'll turn like this. Hey, do something. Feed her your souls. I already did all I could.
Yes, fucking of course, we feed her souls. Now, of course, you actually have a choice here of being a more helping person and to just save her, or to take her as a sex slave, which, why, I don't really know, but this is the second time that option's popped up. But it is an interesting point that a lot of people bring up about the rape in the...
I feel like Rick Rock's the kind of guy that would like buy gay porn and then be surprised that there was dudes fucking on it.
This game. Is it necessary? Kind of, not really. It isn't. You can completely ignore a lot of the rape, and I never actually really engaged with it until one point in the game where I needed to, but it does allow for an interesting point about role-playing. Do I think it's a good thing in general, the action? No. But if you want to be the most evil character in the world, the game allows you to really go really evil, which is cool in a sense, and I think does deserve to be there in a role-playing sense, and allows you to get more immersed in the world in a more disgusting way. This world is disgusting. That is a fact, but it also makes the
We all know about being evil in games. We love RimWorld and war crimes. Slavery and cutting off people's arms and legs to feed our vampires. It's beautiful.
Role-playing more immersive and more engaging to play with and actually think about. You can play this game, as I stated, as the most evil fucker in the world, and you can take all the female companions as slaves, or you cannot. But it's still a player choice that you can make, and I think it's fine the way it is. It isn't honestly glorified, and it is very much positioned as a bad choice, because you completely lose access to those summons if you choose to take them as slaves or rape them. But I just chose to help her, so of course we have sex with her. Whoopee. Sex count is like 6 now, I think. I can't remember. I lost count, I'll be honest. But we do the deed and Jean's memories return, and she pledges her allegiance to us, with her now becoming a summon for us. How nice. So heading back to the cathedral where we just killed that funny dog, we can re-meet Catherine, who has now left the skeleton maze, and summoning Jean, it turns out the pair actually know each other. And Jean convinced Catherine that she should join us. But oh no, guess what? Before she finally joins us, she's starting to go hollow. Well, wrong game. She's starting to run out of souls, and she's going to turn into a demon beast. So you know what that means? I'm not going to keep saying it. It's pretty obvious now at this point. Every time you recruit characters as a summon, you have sex with them. This is how the game goes. You do it, and we save her from becoming a demon beast by feeding her. I hate that. And now she becomes another summon for us, and she's honestly pretty good. Victoria, Leaf, and Dorothy were the ones I used the most, and mainly due to their buff, but Catherine does have some decent buffs on her, so she is worth leveling up. Anywho, moving along, we now head back to Snow White's castle and into Wonderland by following that white rabbit, in which we can find a corpse which allows us to obtain each summon's ultimate ability, which are extremely powerful, either buffs or attacks, but they're very worth getting in general because they completely level up the summons in another way that makes them even more useful. But here I did a little bit of grinding, mainly because this area I think is DLC that was added later on, because all the rabbits give 10,000 souls, so if you find a battle with 5 rabbits, you get 50,000 souls, so I did a bunch of leveling here. But also I grabbed the bonfire so I could walk back here, but then I walked back to the mines and headed past the boss I killed a minute ago, Behemoth, and headed into the valley checkpoint, meeting another guy. And yes, I can actually voice the guy, but I should really get some female voice actresses in these videos. Basically, this fella is just here to tell us about Rapunzel. She is one of the 4 demonic princesses, we knew that. So heading into Gothmel's tower, we start to ascend it to confront the next demonic princess. But along the way, we are ambushed by Peter Pan, so we kill him, obviously, and continue up the tower, reaching a guardian chameleon, like the one from the story in the movie, and we kill it, because it is actually a dragon in this game. But killing it and moving past it, we can meet Rapunzel. And this is the exact quest I locked myself out of. Rapunzel, trying to enter a covenant with her, she requests that we bring her a phantom flower, the desert rose. And at this point, I realized I sold the bloody flower. So what did I do? I just killed her. You would have to kill all the princesses eventually, so I just did it now, after some great difficulty, as surprise, the princesses are actually one of the tough boss fights in the game. But killing the foul woman, we move along and we head back to the Holy Forest, and we can meet Elizabeth in the Forest of Abandon. And she has lost a ring somewhere in the forest, so we quickly run around like a lunatic to find the ring. But we can also find Dorothy at Toto's grave. Yes, the dog from the film and everything is now dead, how sad. But finding the ring, we can head back to Elizabeth, and we return it to her. And now she offers us a reward, which we can either choose sex, which she heavily encourages, or we can refuse, saying that we just want her as a party member. So she agrees with that, and we actually get her as a party member without having to have sex with her. What is this? Character growth? Impossible in my game.
How are you gonna have a hentai game and then not have sex with a character? That just seems completely like going against what I would say the vast majority of the audience buys the game for.
Next, I wanted to get another one of the party members, which was a more secret party member. But to do this, you would need to get 5 sins. Sins are obtained by doing something sinful, either killing a character that you're not meant to, or rape. And this is the part where you'd have to think about how to do that without impacting the rest of the game. Obviously, you would normally engage with one of the other characters, like one of the summons, to do this. But why are we trying to get sins? Well, we need to attract the attention of the Black Trial, who are kind of like the order of people that kill people who do sinful things. They're the so-called evil hunters. I don't know, people fear them, but we want to get their attention. So we need to, unfortunately, indulge in the game's rape mechanic. Now, who are we going to do that with? Well, funny thing is, if you try to do it with any of the party members you already recruited, they refuse and just say, we can do it any time, just feed me souls. And if you do it with any of the unrecruited party members, they are transported in the dungeon below the Holy Forest and are prevented from ever becoming party members for you or summons. So honestly, you want to avoid doing this as much as possible, because if you do this, it locks you out of kind of parts of the game and prevents certain quests, which isn't fun. But there is a type of character which we can use for this role. A character that respawns over and over again, no matter how many times we kill them, rape them, do whatever to them. And that's the fairies. Like us, the undead, the fairies actually respawn, which Leaf told us earlier. And that is exactly what this anti-fairy is for. And I had to do this 5 times to the 3 different fairies in the Holy Forest. And man, I hated doing this. But obtaining my 5 sins, and no, I cannot show it, and yes, we kill them each time we have sex with them, we can now head over to the Tainted Bog and we feel a strange dark presence among us. Almost as if someone has invaded our world. But heading out and running around a bit, you'll eventually be confronted by a Black Condemner Miranda. And she's actually quite a tough boss fight to beat, but beating her rather quickly, because again, I have one of the best weapons in the game. We don't kill her, but she basically yields, and she states that the defeated must obey the winner. And we are given a choice. She can either become become our companion, and she'll join us in our quest. Or, yeah, you get the point, a sex slave. You get the fucking point. You get it now? You get the choice, okay? So, of course, we take her as a companion. Of course, I'm not going to pick the other option because I wanted her as a companion and a summon. I ain't that weird, but Miranda is honestly a pretty good summon. She is very tanky and is actually a great unit to throw out in the middle of battle to just get some bulk when you need it. But from what I gathered, she never actually learned any sort of taunt skill, which kind of made her tankiness sometimes pointless. She's a cool character, though, and I really do like her design. And she is one of the only characters that was actually created for this game, as she has no link or origin to any other fairy tale that I personally could figure out, or the community could figure out. But anyway, with Miranda now being a summon, we reduce our sins really quick so we don't keep getting ambushed by the Black Trial, because they do just ambush you randomly. We can now head out to the Gothel's Tower and head through and fight another boss, some skeleton guys, and I'll be honest, I was really strong at this point, so I literally just one-shotted them. But we now reach the empty beach, and with the Atlantic Invitation, we can now open up some stairways and head down, and we can find the Poseidon Hotel. The hotel allows you to spend a night with your party member if the party member is over level 100. You invite them into a private room and you have a saucy scene with them. Very cool, but also you can kill them here if you want to, and spoiler alert, you're going to need to use this eventually. Heading though out of the hotel now, we can find a building called Inside Mermaid, which we meet the Little Mermaid. So is there a Big Mermaid, and are we inside the... You get the point, we're inside the Big Mermaid. Of course, we enter a covenant with the Little Mermaid, which, yes, we have sex.
I think I'm going to have to call it here because he's really just going through the entire story. And I think I pretty much have a gist of the game, that the controversy is in the fact that you can choose to rape characters. And apparently there's one scene where you kind of have to, right? And from what I'm hearing from Kamoji, and even hearing from him going through the story of the game, I'm not hearing a lot of atrocious things outside of it being a hentai game where you can choose rape. And if it, you know, it seems like it's the part where it's very negative affecting you, then, you know, I don't care. It could play into the acting of the story. I personally am not going to go discover it for myself. That I'll leave that to others to bring me that information. So, but I don't want to sit here and go through the entire storyline on it and go from there. If you consider the iceberg of controversial games, this is fairly tame. Yeah, it seems like it is compared to it. Compared to some of the games that we've watched, you know, on here, it's definitely very tame compared to it. But that is what it is. I'm going to call it a little early here tonight, though. So I want to thank everyone for coming by. If you haven't liked the stream yet, like it on the way out. Helps me out immensely. Of course, if you really are generous, you can hit that little subscribe button. And, you know, we love to talk about different things here. Fucked up video games, commentary, community, any interesting subject. And again, if you have something you want me to watch, you can go into my Discord under Feed the Pig, and there you can leave me anything and I'll take a look at it. Good stream, good times. That's right, Red Stain. So I want to thank everyone for coming out, and y'all have a wonderful evening. All right, guys, we will see you tomorrow.